Welcome to episode 80 of Shane Talks, the big 80, and I'm joined by a couple of my favorite gentlemen on this planet to talk about the power of nostalgia. So, as always, I am joined by Jason L. Mayer, the greatest co host in the history of podcasting. We have our longtime, still the number one guest star on the show, Mr. Jason Richardson. And then one of my favorite guests that we have not had on yet this year, we have not had on since we did the rebranding of the episode, Mr. Chris Schneider. Welcome to the podcast for 2023, sir. All right, so
glad to be here.
We are here to talk about nostalgia, but we got a couple of other things to get through before we get to that. First of all, we do our coming attractions. So I want to hear about something that's coming up. The year's almost over, so I guess we might be bleeding into stuff that's coming out next year. But I'm excited to hear what you guys are excited about that's coming up soon. Mr. Mayor, why don't you start us off with what you're excited about?
Man, you're starting me off. I'm the guy who gets to do that. Okay. So coming attraction, just found out about this today. Kind of excited. My wife has already told me, yes, please go buy tickets. So this happens on December the 8th. There is a gentleman by the name of John McLaughlin, who is a Hoosier, born and bred singer-songwriter. And he is he's performing at the Carmel Palladium, which I have never been to and always wanted to check out that venue. And so I mean, I've been by it a couple of times for like the Christmas market and stuff, but I've never actually gotten inside to watch a show. And Chris Allen from American Idol fame, who he beat oh my God, Queen singer. Why am I blanking on him? Adam Lambert, yes. So he beat out Adam Lambert. Chris Allen, I've seen in concert once with my wife, but we both that was right after we moved to Massachusetts. We got into American Idol that season, which I think was also the season Catherine McPhee might have been on it as well. But they so like Chris Allen just got a nostalgic feeling for us, for our family. And so I think we're gonna buy tickets to that. So I just found out about this today. Looking forward to possibly getting into watching that show.
What kind of music is it? I'm not familiar with him at all. Is it
he sings stuff kind of in the realm of like Billy Joel and Elton John. I mean, it's piano driven for the most part, but it's kind of soft rock and adult contemporary kind of stuff. So
very cool. Mr. Schneider, what about you, sir? What's coming up soon that you're excited about?
For me, in 2 weeks, going to see Pink down at Cambridge Fieldhouse.
That'll be fun.
I think she's one of the best entertainers that we have out there right now.
Her documentary is amazing.
It's what she does on stage is incredible. So, her show hasn't.
How many times does this make now?
A few, and her show hasn't changed a lot over the years.
Oh, a few is how much? How much is a few?
Can you define a few?
Probably just my fourth time seeing Pink.
That's a low number.
Fifth time. But I'm looking forward to it. I think, for the dollar, you get the value with her entertainment. So I'm definitely looking forward to that musically. Movie-wise, I think that as we start approaching the holidays, I'm actually really excited for this new version of The Color Purple. I'm really excited to see how they've taken the musical adaptation and brought it back to film. So it's one of those rare instances where something was a book, then a film, then a musical. Now it's back to film. So it's like going full circle. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, watching the preview, it looks interesting to me because, watching the new preview, it does not look like anything that I remember from the Steven Spielberg version. So, I'm going to need to go back and revisit that so it's fresh in my memory before I watch the new one.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Pink, and it was one of those things where I think you might have posted on Facebook that you were you were heading to it or whatever, and I was like, man, I've never seen her live. I think she would be awesome live. And then I just remembered I don't know if you went with them or not, but I know there was a group of our friends, Manuel and Lee, and who went and saw her at the Vogue. She was literally it was right before or right after her first album dropped. And I'm like, holy crap. You think about the stage that she does now for every show.
Well, and I'm glad nothing has changed in this podcast. We quickly get off topic and just talk.
Absolutely.
But I mean, Jason, you and I were at the Vogue and saw Rihanna, and there were how many of us there? 30 at the most.
Not many.
Oh, you weren't there? I thought you were.
Yeah.
There were. I mean, there were.
No. I was there. I was saying not many people.
Oh, not many. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, it was nobody, and now.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think my boss had mentioned something about she was backstage smoking pot or something back in 2006 or whatever. That would have been like, or 5. That would have been like, ooh, somebody's smoking pot, you know. Taboo, like.
Just don't do it. Just don't buy the pot while you're training movie theater employees.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Richardson, what's coming up that you're excited about, sir? What's your coming attraction this month?
You know, I was talking to Chris about this tonight at dinner, and I'm just like, there's not really a lot coming up that I'm like, you know, my Halloweens are done, which I know Mayor is happy about, but that'll be another time.
They're doing a Halloween TV series though, so we'll see how.
Yeah, that's what I meant. There'll be something else in the future and whatnot, so we can have that conversation later, Jason Mayer. You know, I was telling Chris, and again, it's kind of where I am on my life and my age, and you know, it's going to the movies all the time. It's something I used to do a lot. I don't do as much anymore, and nothing's really interested me, and not a lot of stuff. And maybe that's because I just don't have as much time. But the only thing I can really think of is the Beyonce Renaissance concert film.
Oh, okay. Jason, what's wrong, Mayor? Mayor, you just went and saw Taylor Swift's concert film.
You're right, and I did that for my daughter. First of all, second of all, I mean, I'll watch it because it's Taylor Swift and she's somewhat entertaining. I'm sure Beyonce's entertaining. I haven't enjoyed her music in a decade now.
So I mean, look, I think this is a good conversation to have real quick about this new sort of concert film experience which is going on.
Well, they need to.
I'm not big into her music either, but I went to Louisville and saw the show live, and I could not have been more entertained because Beyonce to me proved she is more than a musician, and she is an absolute entertainer, and it was an amazing show. So I think it wasn't about the music to me. It's all about the production, which I know we all appreciate production value, but I think it's really fascinating because, you know, things are getting more and more expensive. It is not a cheap concert ticket to see anyone these days. And so I really like the concept of accessibility for these things to be coming out so that people everywhere can enjoy them. I think it's really an interesting concept, especially when we're looking at box office numbers being down, and these films are coming in and absolutely giving boosts and keeping theaters in business.
You're right.
I think we'll continue to see more of that as the years go on. I know Adele, when I went and saw Adele in Las Vegas, she was filming. Like, that's going to happen. And I guarantee instead of a streamer first, it's going to go to a theater now. Like,
and rightfully so, right? Because I mean, they this isn't anything new. They're, you know, the Rolling Stones did it, and the Beatles did it.
You too.
So I mean, like, this is nothing new. We're in a downspout really bad for
Talking
movies.
Heads, yeah.
We're in a downspout for movies where nothing is hitting, kind of like Jaybird. You're a big, huge movie buff, and you're telling us you haven't seen a whole lot lately. And Shane and I, we go every week. You know why? Because we like the guy time and hanging out. But it's also like we watch whatever we're watching, and most of the time I'm walking out going, it was okay.
Yep.
It's a whole different experience now. But going back to my original answer, the Shane's question, the Beyonce Renaissance concert tour, and you know, I liked Destiny's Child back in the day, and when they broke up, it's like, oh, okay, but you know, Beyonce was kind of the head of that, and so, you know, she started off fine solo-wise, and then she kind of went down a different road that was a little ahead of me. And so I went, you know, a stretch period where I didn't really get into her sound a lot, unless it was something fun like a Single Ladies or something like that. But on this last album, which I've talked to Schneider about, this last album like completely opened up a whole new thing for me. Like it made me aware of the power within ourselves, and the underdogs, the I'm black, I'm gay. It empowered me, and I couldn't believe I hadn't had an album do that to me in a long time. So I gained a lot of respect for her, and finally connected with an album and it made me then go back and listen to some of her previous albums. And I could find a couple tracks off of them that I liked, but not as much as the Renaissance album that's been out for about a year now. So, Taylor Swift I saw with Chris 4, 5, 6 years ago, and it was phenomenal. Reputation tour. She's coming to Indy next year for 3 shows. They're going to sell out. Tickets are hell trying to get them, and people are just going nuts. And I'm like, I'm not going through that. So I'm like, this is my way to see the Eras tour, and I was gung-ho about it. I was excited, and I loved it. And then once Beyonce announced that she was going to do it too, I was like, oh, all right. So I'm looking forward to that. And it is, as I get older, maybe I'm going through this transition of where there's other things I kind of want to see at the movies now to be entertained. And if you look at all these, the streaming services now and what we're watching, or, as many of those that there are, there's not the biggest selection at the movies. Not everything is coming direct to the movies first. So anyways.
That is true. And you make a lot of good points with that. Do any of you guys remember back in 2007 when Grindhouse came out? And in the middle of Grindhouse, they had those 5 fake movie trailers in there.
Right.
We already got Hobo with a Shotgun, and we already got Machete. But next month we get Thanksgiving from Eli Roth, and that is what I am actually really excited about right now.
That does look kind of fun.
It's probably because I'm very much in my Halloween mindset right now. I've been doing the 31 days of Halloween, so I've watched a different Halloween movie. I'm on day 25 now, so I'm very much in the Halloween slasher mindset. And I think that's probably the reason why right now I'm really excited about Thanksgiving, because I wasn't I wanted to see it, but this month when I've seen the trailer, I've been more excited for it. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And I hope it's just dumb and stupid and a killer just killing a bunch of people in really dumb and ridiculous ways, because that's really all I want from Eli Roth. I hope it's not like hostile Eli Roth. I hope it's something just more like John Carpenter, Boogeyman, killing a bunch of people for no reason Eli Roth.
Right. So you just want people to be carved up.
Yeah, yes. And I think that's a tagline, isn't it? Something like that.
Is it? It needs to be if it's not.
Yeah. I think I don't remember exactly what it is, but I think the word carve is somewhere in their tagline. All right, so cool. Next.
So wait a second. Wait, real quick. So let me add something there real quick. So, see, that's kind of like that type of movie, Shane. I'm always up for that. I'll think I'll be 80 and horror stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just campy, fun stuff. But I was telling Schneider tonight at dinner, the 2 big anchor movies that come out this holiday season in June and December, I don't even want to really see, Willy Wonka, which is a prequel, and then Aquaman, and the last Aquaman was a snooze fest, and I'm like, those are 2 huge movies that are going to take up a lot of screens, and I'm like, where's the adult stuff? There's. I'm just like, boy, I'm really transitioning. So
I would argue that Schneider's decision or comment about The Color Purple is another one that I think is going to be huge this Christmas.
See, that's a musical.
Oh, are you not into that?
No, he is not.
I mean, so
25 for you too, because Wicked's going to take up every screen. But
oh my god,
I think it's funny though. I think that those 2 movies are kind of more summer fare traditionally.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially Aquaman, which I have zero interest in seeing either. But there are some adult titles coming out. Like I mentioned to you, The Holdovers is absolutely going to be one of those films that sticks around for the holiday season,
And you've already
it's
seen it,
gonna do
right?
business. Yeah, I've seen it, and
And it's
it's
good?
absolutely fantastic. It is.
Good. I'm looking forward to it.
It really is a great return to good film from Alexander Payne.
Okay.
And Paul Giamatti is fantastic. So I think that's going to be the one that kind of sticks around and gains momentum over the December month. You've got Yorgos's Poor Things, which is wild. That will find a little bit of a niche audience. But some of the better films are going straight to streaming. I mean, Naiad is going, and that's a fantastic, feel good film that would have done really well in theaters 10, 15 years ago, but now it's straight to streaming and people will watch it in week one and then forget about it. Same thing with Rustin. I think that's doing Netflix as well. And
come on, everybody's looking forward to Napoleon, right?
it's my mom is. She's a history nerd, but and it'll be
I will
It'll
interesting
be
to
just
see.
as good as Alexander.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean,
there's a few
there's
things,
like
but it's
there's
not-
no. You think of the fun movies in the past where and they were like holiday type movies, like Grumpy Old Men.
Silent Night. I'm looking forward
that
to
was
that.
that was just a fun movie, and it was a comedy and stuff like on that same kind of
Oh yeah, I mean,
line. There's no
how much business did we see Christmas with the Cranks do throughout the holiday season and after? I mean, that thing was making money for into February. But you don't see that kind of film. You don't see, a Grumpy Old Man, a Christmas with the Cranks, a Toy Story, a Santa Claus. The best holiday movie that's come out in the last few years was on Netflix in the middle of COVID. The
right.
whatever that musical thing was, which shows you how memorable it really was.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that, and I should know it. Mayor, what did you say a second ago?
We listen to the music from that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So
because the music's great in that show. I don't remember what I was saying. You've got a bunch of musicals that are coming too, and yeah, but I'm right there with you guys. I mean, there's one called A Small Town Christmas. Apparently, I'm looking up coming soon. Wonka, I'm actually kind of like it looks fun enough. Although I do have to say that I saw somebody complaining about how is it that Snow White, the new live action Snow White from Disney, has no dwarves in it, no real dwarves, and then Wonka, you give Oompa Loompas to Hugh Grant instead of giving it to somebody who is a little person. So I'm dying laughing because I'm like, how did they not see this coming? That somebody was gonna rise a stink about that in today's society for sure. But you're right. The other thing that popped in my head was I just saw the other day. We went and saw. You mentioned it, Taylor Swift. Mean Girls the musical is coming in January. So
I already saw it. Chris got me tickets to that like 3 years ago.
But they're doing a movie version of the musical.
Oh, I see.
Releasing that in theaters. Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, not a whole lot of greatness coming out for sure. And I'll see the Iron Claw though. Why not, right?
Actually, I think that looks pretty good.
I'm sure my wife will enjoy it. So
what is the Iron
Where
Claw?
were you going next, Shane?
Hold on, what
Iron Claw is the Zac Efron looks like He-Man wrestling movie.
Oh yeah. There's another dude in that I like. Yeah, I can't remember.
Guy from the Bear.
Yes. James Taylor White. John. His last name's White. Yeah. Okay. So I was moving on to our second topic, which is my first time, which I ask you guys something you have seen recently. I mean, I guess Chris, it could be anything you've seen this year. Jaybird, something that you've seen since like July when you were on. But something you guys have seen recently, something it doesn't have to be in the theater. It doesn't even have to be a new movie. It could be something that came out 30 years ago, but you had never seen it until recently. Just something that you just recently saw, whether you liked it or not. So, Mr. Schneider, let's start with you.
Chinatown.
Oh.
Just watched Chinatown for the first time.
That's
and
a classic.
Really enjoyed it. It's an absolute classic. What I'm trying to do, I went back with my friend Mark, and we're kind of looking at what we haven't seen from the AFI Top 100.
Oh,
So I'm
nice.
starting to fill in gaps. So I've watched Chinatown, and really enjoyed that. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
the other day watched North by Northwest for the first
Oh,
time,
amazing film.
and like that. And then we watched American Graffiti, which I had never seen,
Oh,
which
wow.
was fine. I get why it's on the list because it was
Hmm.
kind of the first of its time, first of its
Sure.
kind at the time, but nothing special overall to me.
Yeah, I
So
kind of feel the same way about it
Chinatown, I
with
really
you.
did.
And I mean, I saw it back in the 90s, but even watching it then, I kind of have the same feeling about it. I don't think we have the nostalgia that people for American Graffiti did, which is the weird thing about American Graffiti. I think, and it's funny because it's a nostalgic film that was made like in the 70s about the 60s. And it would be like the equivalent of like if you made a movie right now about like 2012. Like that it's weird to think about the nostalgia back when he made that movie was only like a 10 to 15 year nostalgia.
Yeah.
If you were to make that now, like I mean, cell phones were around. Like, where the hell is the nostalgia in a movie that cell phones are around? Like, I don't know. That's just a weird thing to me. But I agree with you about. I understand why a lot of people liked American Graffiti, but like even in the '90s when I saw it, it didn't hit me the way that I expected it to. Mr. Richardson, what have you seen recently, sir?
I've been introducing my partner Chris to Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay. Horror movies
So
in October.
yeah, and you know, when I think back, and I don't overly watch the Friday the 13th movies during the Halloween season. I may watch part 3 or like 6. You know, it's kind of more like when I catch it on TV if it's on a marathon or something like that, right? But I'll watch all the Halloweens and some of the other kind of fun stuff. I don't hate Friday the 13th. I love Friday the 13th, but it's just not one I dive into as much as like Halloween and such. And so I thought, that would be kind of fun to do, introduce Chris to Friday the 13th, and we've been kind of skipping around. And so, but the fun thing about it though is that when we watch it, I mean, we are laughing our asses off
Mm-hmm.
because it's so funny to watch those movies now. Like when the uh, and the girls scream and it just sounds so fake and like, and then like what are your favorite kills? And I still love a lot of the kills in Friday the 13th Part 3, and we're just having fun with it. And
Nice.
we just know, I mean, we know they're bad, but it's just kind of fun to laugh at it at this point. So, but it's such a throwback though.
So, were there any of them that you hadn't seen before, though?
Oh no, I've seen every one,
You seen all of them? All
but
right.
I just never. I don't pound the Friday the 13th every year. It's kind of like they're spaced out more. I
Gotcha.
pound all the Halloweens and stuff and John Carpenter stuff. So
Nice.
Just keep
Right on.
pounding away there, Japers.
By proxy, I'll allow that answer. Mr. Mayor, what have you seen recently for the first time?
Just watched it last night. Never seen it before. It was one of the ones that somebody recommended to me, and I was like, and we would have seen it at the theater. Something happened. Whether it was something else came out that week or we were busy, whatever the case. Who knows? Maybe in the last year, one of us was sick. But finally watched No Hard Feelings with
Oh,
Jennifer Lawrence,
yeah.
and it's on Netflix right now. So if
Yep.
you haven't seen it, take the time. It was entertaining enough.
Sure.
My problem, as always, is that it's a comedy. They're so formulaic that it's kind of annoying. And
Yep.
on top of that, I didn't get to watch it with anybody. So like, and a lot of the like really funny moments were already in the trailer. So
Yeah.
it was one of those things. I wasn't expecting the beach scene the way
Yep.
that it happened. No,
Yep.
not at all.
It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet, so
Well, yeah,
Oh,
I'm not. I was not.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for the beach scene.
yep.
Besides that, the rest of the movie is it's cut and paste. But if you guys can watch it with somebody, watch it with each other, watch it with somebody that likes to laugh, do that. Don't watch it by yourself. It's definitely something that I think you would enjoy more with other people than just by yourself. So
Definitely 100% agree. I don't know why I missed it either. Like you said, it just was one that we didn't watch in the theater that week or whatever. And
I think there was. I think in a weird. I think. And tell me if you think you're wrong. This summer, to me, I think they did not do a good job of spacing the films out. There was just too, or maybe there wasn't as so much expectation put. Like maybe Barbie and Oppenheimer weren't expected to be as big as what they were. You know what I mean? They were much bigger than what I thought they were going to. It was going to be, but it was just there was just too much jammed in the. I told Chris Schneider tonight I didn't even see Mission Impossible 7. Like it came in for a week, and then Barbie and Oppenheimer kicked in, and then it started slipping away from screens. It's just like there was too much out this summer.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible ended up losing, a lot of money with the way that they did what they did, which stinks too, because it was probably my least favorite of the Christopher
McQuarrie.
You're gonna narrow it down like that, huh?
Well, yeah, out of the ones that he's done, it's my least favorite, but it's still like a middle of the pack Mission Impossible movie. I think that they could have done a couple of things different that would have changed how it affected people. But overall, it's a solid movie. I definitely, 2 still is by far the worst out of that, and because of what it is. But I watched all 6 before.
2 is awesome.
No, it's not.
Well,
we need to do with us 4. We need to do a Mission Impossible episode because.
Okay.
Yeah.
2
took it to the next. 2 took it to the next level. There's a big difference between when you watch the first one to then the second, and so forth. 2 took it to a whole different level, and why it's where it is today. So, anyways, go ahead.
And the first one is the only true Mission Impossible film. The rest of them are just action movies. The first one is a true Mission Impossible movie. What the TV show was, let's be covert, let's go in and do things without getting caught. And then John Woo turned it into a let's blow up as much shit as big as we possibly can. And it just annoys me that the Mission Impossible franchise and the Fast and the Furious franchise went on the same trajectory. And Jason forgives Mission Impossible, but he doesn't forgive Fast and the Furious. And I don't get that because they literally did the exact same. No, Mayor. They literally did the exact same thing. First movie, amazingly well done, and they all go to shit after that. But I still have fun with both franchises.
And that's
what? Here's the thing. I like the Fast and the Furious series myself. It's over the top, campy, whatever, right? But here's my thing. Here's my thing though. What number was this summer? What was that? 9?
10.
That was 10. Okay, so the previous one that came out, I think during COVID, where Tyrese and Ludacris end up in space.
Yeah,
I'm
ridiculous.
You know what? It's just like it's one thing. Like if you just go off they go off a cliff and they fall to the ground and they live. Okay, but to put Tyrese and Ludacris, have them up in actual NASA space. That for me was just like
it was a ludicrous thing to do in the script. It was all metaphorical.
Did you see the previous? Did you two see the previous ones? That previous one? Wasn't it crazy?
What did you want to say that you got cut off earlier?
Oh, I was just going to say, what's more plausible? Car thieves becoming super spies and traveling the entire world and going into space, or a super spy doing super spy stuff? Let me think. Which one is a little bit more realistic on this? Like the fantastical Tom Cruise, I'm already a super spy, goes and does fantastical stuff, or guys who were boosting stuff off of trucks all of a sudden being superheroes, physics masters, and
when I was a little kid growing up, I watched this movie about a guy who played video games, and then all of a sudden he was recruited to join the war against the Kodan Armada. And so those are the kind of movies that I enjoy. They don't have to be super realistic. They can just be fun.
You know what? Last Starfighter makes more sense than the Fast and Furious.
Okay. Word.
Flight of the Navigator.
Okay. I had to think about that. Okay, so Mayor is totally against the Fast and the Furious.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hold on.
He hates.
Wait. I think they're absolutely stupid. I think it's ridiculous that they're making $1 billion every time they make one of those films. But
not this last one.
But I will say
it's wearing on people now. So
you know why? Because they're shit movies, dude. Like it's just like
there's superhero fatigue because every superhero movie right now is fucking garbage.
Well, that's the problem. Is it's not superhero fatigue. It's not Fast and Furious fatigue. It's bad writing fatigue. That's what we have. If you wrote good movies, people line up in droves and will watch them forever. You make crap movies and just expect to slap something on it and go, "Oh, well, The Rock's in this, so it's going to make $1 billion." Like it doesn't work that way. I'm
trying to think if there was a movie. If there was a movie where the four of us were working back in the day, like we were at the movie theater, right? So that was like part 1 and 2, and then what did we transition to? Like. People were of the government all of a sudden, like, I mean, it did transition in a way that's just kind of like, okay, these were just punks on the streets who stole shit.
Yep.
To how the fuck they get up in the damn space.
Ludacris is like MIT level super smart. Like, don't get me wrong. If you wrote that in his character at the beginning, that'd be fine. But he ran a chop shop, if I'm remembering correctly.
Right. And some of the things you just kind of like, you don't even, there are things, a lot of things I don't pay attention to a lot of times. And then later it's just kind of like,
I'm just glad that this was the Vin Diesel series that took off, because we could be looking at Triple X, like that was so terrible, or the Pacifier Part 4, I still suck, I don't know, but I don't know.
Jason, what's that one Vin Diesel movie where it comes up every year on my timeline and I'll share it, and it's just this really ridiculous scene that Vin Diesel does with a gun, and the camera like pans all the way 360 around him, and he's shooting at somebody.
John Woo movie.
No. I mean, it is so. I mean, what was it? It was Triple X, Pitch Black, and what else series did he do?
Fast and Furious.
It's got to be the last Triple X movie.
Okay.
And I'll have to dig up that. Shane, I almost wish you would edit and put in, as we're talking, scenes from movies.
Okay.
Yeah, you really need. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. All right, cue it up. Check this out.
Roll it. So,
and now we're going to pick back up. So, anyways, you can see how ridiculous that is, right? Where, I mean, they take a camera and they pan around him 360, shooting up everybody. I mean, it's just over the top, ridiculous, stupid.
Bloodshot.
I was trying to think. Wasn't that like 2006?
That was
no, we've been 2016.
2016,
2017 when that came out. I was living in my apartment. That
2017 is the return of Xander Cage, Triple X.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's either that or The Last Witch Hunter.
No, it was Xander. It was the triple. Yeah, it was that.
I had no idea there was even a third one of those. I had no idea.
Yep, they brought him back. It was absolutely terrible. It was very garbage.
I rented that from the Red Box. Talk about nostalgia.
No. Redbox is not nostalgia yet. I mean, it's gone, but it's not nostalgia yet.
It literally. Do you not every once in a while think about I mean, when you walk into a grocery store, you're walking out of a drugstore in one, and you see the red box, and you're like, oh.
He's
it's,
doing this.
it's like, that's so old.
Well, I saw
Who
I saw
does that?
I saw something online this week where Netflix announced they were going to open brick and mortar stores. So then somebody took a picture of a Blockbuster, and it was like literally moving into the place that you put out of business. And I thought that was pretty hilarious.
And the last Blockbuster made some kind of Twitter post about it.
Oh, did they? Oh, I need to look into that. I didn't see that.
Which, look, by the way, if there was ever a group road trip, I would absolutely drive to Bend, Oregon, to go spend
absolutely.
an hour at a
Yep.
Blockbuster video.
They were doing for a while. They were doing an Airbnb in there where you could spend the night and you could watch whatever videos you wanted. They had a bed in there and you could watch whatever you wanted all night long. And I literally I would have, and it wasn't even expensive. It was like $100 to do it. Like it wasn't stupid expensive. Like I think it would have been worth it. But I'm 100% in for that trip. So my first time, I'm actually going to talk about the movie I watched tonight. Not necessarily because it's great, but it is one of my it's my horror movie for today. I watched it before we got on here. It's been on my radar for a year or two, and it's only came out last year, so I didn't make time for it last year. Written by Kevin Williamson, which is why I was interested in it. It is a pandemic horror movie called Sick. Very, very easy concept, very low budget, not a whole lot of cast. I don't know the guy that directed it, but I was excited about it, and I have heard good things about it, and I think my excitement was too high because it was just okay. Knowing that it was written by Kevin Williamson, like the opening sequence is a major Scream ripoff. One of the reveals in Act 3 is a major Scream ripoff. I'd say that Act 2 is enjoyable for the fact that it does a lot of tense shots with it. Like basically a couple of teenage kids go out to the middle of a cabin in the woods because it's the pandemic and they're just trying to get away because everything's shut down, and this black masked figure is in the cabin with them. So there are scenes where they're interacting with each other, and in the background you see the person. And so like it's got some really good shots and angles and like mise en scène, like setting up that like this guy is there and just kind of waiting for the right moment to attack him. Act 3's reveal about like the who and the why is kind of lame and kind of dumb and not the twist that I was hoping for with it, but it had some stuff that made it worth it. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. Like it's a super quick watch, but I think my expectations were just a little too high for it. So that was disappointing, but it was a new horror movie to add to my list this month. So I was excited about that. All right, we're going to move on to our Mount Rushmore now. Mount Rushmore is where I ask you guys your 4 favorites of a certain topic. And because we're doing nostalgia, I decided to go with television shows. Stuff that you watched back in the day that they've stuck with you. Or I guess it could be a new TV show also, but 4 TV shows that as a whole, you enjoy the television show franchise. And Mr. Richardson, can I get your Mount Rushmore of TV shows?
Oh, come back. Let's do Mayor first, please.
Let's do Mayor first. It's being pushed over to Jason Mayer. What are your 4 favorite TV shows, sir?
I was trying to go with how long ago are we thinking? So are we thinking of something that was like when I was little? Is this something that would like right down the, just a couple of years ago? I was trying to figure it out. With your wide interpretation, I'm going to stick to 4 that I absolutely love. So first up is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, by far my favorite all time. I think that the writing, the acting in it did some awesome stuff back in the day. And then following that up is, I was like, oh man, there's all these Joss Whedon shows that I love. And I was like, I can't just keep going to the well. I'm good. I'm done with that. I'm going to have to say, I got to say Friends, man. Like it's something that I still love. I can watch all the time. I don't mind it. I enjoy quoting it all the time. So it's that, my next up after that is the Friends ripoff. I guess we'll go that route. How I Met Your Mother.
Okay, that's a good one.
That first 3 or 4 seasons before the writer strike happened during that episode, that problematic time
Oh,
frame.
that writer strike then?
That one, yes,
The previous
the
one.
That
previous
one back
one.
then?
Yeah. It was by far my favorite thing on television. And the writing, the callbacks, we've mentioned it a couple of times on this podcast. I love the fact that they would build things and they would constantly reference it long time after, and that's what something is missing from Friends, for the simple fact that Friends was very self-contained for most episodes.
Yeah.
But whereas this is more like real friendships, like the four of us, right? There's stuff that we'll like make jokes about. Like I always, Jaybird will always talk about, I remember Jason being up in the popping room and he couldn't come down. So like that stuff that he brings up now, even though I stopped working at Clearwater at that time frame in 1998. So but it's still relevant to us. And so and that's what I appreciated about How I Met Your Mother, was the writing was just on a different level than most television shows that you watch.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go with those three. My last one is kind of weird. And I've never I never watched the whole thing, but what I remember of it is very nostalgia. Magnum PI, the original with Tom Selleck.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
it's something that me and my family always watched together when I was really young and overseas while we were stationed over in Germany. It was like the show that we would watch together most of the time. So that's the one those are the four that stick out for me.
Very cool. I like that list. Mr. Schneider, let me hear your Mount Rushmore of television shows.
This was tough because you have to really think about what impacted you. And I will say, boy, if it was 5 or 6 that we can name, How I Met Your Mother would be there for me as well. I think it's absolutely fantastic for all the same reasons that you did. I'll say, in no particular order, mine, Breaking Bad is up there for me.
Okay.
It just was so incredibly well written. It just created suspense week after week. You never knew what was coming next, and just was really just believable that you could turn a high school chemistry teacher into an absolute kingpin. And I loved it. I loved 6 Feet Under dearly. 6 Feet Under is up there for me. I just think that show, I don't know, it just came along at a point in time when I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do in life.
Okay.
And that show really actually got me interested in like mortuary sciences, and this close
Interesting.
to going into mortuary sciences and doing that.
Interesting.
I'm going to talk more about 6 Feet Under in a little while.
Cool.
But I loved it. I will say a show that meant a lot to me at the time of my period of my life. It's a show that it doesn't deserve to be on anybody's Mount Rushmore, but for me personally, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is Queer as Folk, the U.S. version. Like that show was Sunday night appointment television for me because it was the first chance that I had to really see characters that were my community on the screen doing real things people in my community do. So
Gotcha.
it was very eye-opening in that regard. And it came along at a time when I needed it most.
Were you
like
out
that.
at the time when the show was out?
Freshly out, yeah.
Freshly, okay.
And I would go over to Jason's house, usually on Sundays, and we would watch. Mainly because I think he was the only one that had Showtime, but it just was fantastic. And then my fourth one, again, it doesn't really need to be on the Mount Rushmore, but I love the show. I love the cast of characters that is in the show. And then I kind of went on to work in that industry. I love news radio. with
Okay.
Phil Hartman,
Yeah.
Andy
Yeah.
Dick, Kathy Griffin,
Joe Rogan. Yep.
it just was fantastic. I just love the show. I think it's just great, and I can rewatch that over and over.
Very nice. That's a great show. All right, Mr. Richardson, we are back to you, good sir. You got your four figured out yet?
I do. That's kind of difficult, but and there are plenty of others that could replace these four that I'm going through. But these are just four solids that I hold near dear to my heart. No particular order. I'm gonna go number one. What's happening?
Oh, okay. Nice.
I can't even really begin to explain when I actually started watching that show, but I've seen every episode. I think Chris even got me all the episodes on DVD for Christmas.
Nice.
So I have all the seasons, but I just like the camaraderie between Raj, Rerun, and Dwayne, and the shenanigans they would get into. And who doesn't love D on What's Happening? D had the best lines, and just so it's just one of those. I could sit down and eat junk food and watch that TV show all day, like literally. And it's a show where you're watching and you need to eat something too, like because you're just into it, like. So What's Happening? Another one I picked up on this series way late because I was probably just entering this world at the time. But in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, I would watch Nick at Night, and I get home late from radio nights, and I start watching this show called Adam 12.
Oh, okay.
And I just got sucked in, and it's just about two police officers in LA and just following them around and them kind of doing what they do, protecting the community and such. And it's so dated watching it, but back then it was like a big high action, to a lot of people watching TV back in the day like that. So I really like it. Let's see. I think Chris got those for Christmas for me too. Think about it.
If I know you well enough, another show you're going to mention is another one I got you all the episodes of too.
We'll see here. This one may be a surprise because I don't overly talk about it, but I hold this one like near and dear to my heart. It's Golden Girls, and it's not for maybe I think the reasons some people may think, but for me, the Golden Girls was my introduction to the Golden Girls was from my grandmother, my dad's mom. And so I would go over every once in a while on Saturdays and help my grandma around the house. And then we'd get dinner. A lot of times we'd go up to the Taco Bell in Devington Plaza there at 46 in Chadlin or around that area. And, or 46 in Arlington, yeah. And we get tacos, and we would watch the Golden Girls and Amen with Sherman Hemsley after they were on back to back. But when I think of the Golden Girls, not only the fun lines and just the camaraderie with that group, I think of my grandma and the time spending with my grandma, how much she loved that show, and she introduced me to that show. So Saturday nights was always like Taco Bell and Golden Girls with grandma. So that had to be on the list there. And then it's a toss between like In Living Color, because I think In Living Color describes my personality probably the most of any TV show. Just off the wall, stupid at times, ridiculous, over the top at times, and that's just a wonderful show that I always was glued to each week that it would come on. So I really like that one. There's a lot of funny moments. I still think the best. Well, is there some question later about a scene in a show?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We'll reserve that then. So Chris took my Breaking Bad. So
or anything.
Chris took my Breaking Bad. That was a phenomenal show. It's just solid. So
Jay, I'll say one show that I thought would be on your list. And your camera's a little blurry right now. Just a heads up there. I thought maybe the A-Team was going to make your list, because I know that you love the A-Team as well.
I love the A-Team.
Yeah,
Love the A-Team. I told you there's plenty of other shows that could come in and just replace those.
and I think Roseanne would have been one for you as well.
Roseanne was solid. That's the thing too with watching kind of where she is today and how she's kind of gone her way and whatnot and such. And it's weird. You'll just turn on the TV and flick through, and you'll see Roseanne playing on some channel or something, right? And I'll stop and literally just fucking laugh my ass off and think, what a genius show that was. It's just one of the best TV shows ever. It's just hilarious. So.
And that's the weird thing, right? Because like you brought up Roseanne and the things that she's done or said, and it's kind of painted her in the light that she's in currently, but you can still enjoy that because of what it was for the time. And that's kind of the mentality that I've had to take with like the Joss Whedon stuff that's come out about how he's treated people and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like I'm trying to separate what he did from as art and what he did as a person so that I can still enjoy the art, even though I'm like, you're kind of a dick. And it's kind of one of those things where like you run into that problem with like, I know some people can't stand Michael Jackson because of the allegations. Even it's not even like anything's been proven or was proven 100%, but it's like, I know people who won't let their
that's one I struggle with.
Well, yeah, and I know somebody who doesn't let his kids listen to the music because of the fact that he was like so disgusted when he heard what was going on, and it's like, but we don't know for a fact, and he was super rich, so was that the factor of why he had access, or is that the fact that the reason why he had got those allegations against him? Were they real? Were they not? And it's a weird thing to enjoy the art and not like the artist nearly as much. So
Kevin Spacey is the one I struggle with that a lot with now, because he did some of my favorite movies in the 90s, and some of the most like amazing, like Seven and Usual Suspects are like easily in my top 10 to 15 movies ever. And like, it just really sucks knowing what he was doing to people in his personal life. So Kevin Spacey is the one that I struggle with as far as that goes.
Shane.
Yes.
I have a list.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how I can guess.
Okay.
But I want to hold on to them, but prove that I knew after you're done.
Sure. We can figure this out because first of all, 3 out of my 4 I expected to be on your list. So I'm surprised that only one of them was. Because 3 out of the 4 on my list are ones that we talk about. So what's going to happen? Yes, Friends is my number 4. So you are correct about that one. So Friends, for everything that you talked about, I love the show also. No,
I have a guess too on one of yours too.
Cool. All right. So yes, Friends is my number 4. Schneider, what's your guess?
Gee, what could be Shane's number 1?
My guess for you?
Yep.
I think Lost might be on your list.
You are 100% correct. Lost is number 2 on my list. Yep.
That was one of my guesses.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso is my number 1.
And then the other one's going to be that current show about the chef.
Oh, that should have been on my list. Because The Bear is an amazing show.
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, The Bear is
phenomenal. I haven't either.
Oh, I think it should be, but because this is all-time television, it did get bumped out. There was, like you guys said, there's a couple that I could have put in and out here. You guys are still missing one. Mayor, what's your next guess?
Dallas.
It's gotta be. This is gonna be, if it's not in your top 4, it's easily, I know, in your like top 10. So, Sons of Anarchy.
Ooh, that is not. You were correct. That would be in a top number, but it is not in the top 4.
Okay.
So tell me the next one on your list. You said you got a list of a couple. What else is on your list?
Another one on Cheers.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
I thought for sure I was going to hit on that one.
No, that definitely would be also. That's one of them. Freaks and Geeks also got knocked out. Freaks and Geeks is one of my favorite TV shows. But Mr. Mayor, like it's definitely in your wheelhouse. That this one I expected to be on your list, but you ended up going with
Firefly?
Buffy.
Firefly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Firefly is my fourth one. So Friends, Firefly, and Ted Lasso, I all thought might be on Mayor's list. And then Lost. And yeah, I will talk about Lost later when we talk about nostalgia TV shows because yeah, Lost was on a different level when it came out, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunately that people that didn't watch it and experience it the same way because Lost is a show that by being able to marathon it, you lose all of the mystery that you had from week to week. So, well, we'll talk
can't
You
about
wait
know,
that.
that is so weird that you said that because it was probably, I don't know, maybe I don't know, 2014ish or so. But I watched Lost from a whole different experience.
Okay.
So for me watching Lost, was going to the library and renting the videos there, right? Well,
Okay.
you can rent multiple videos. So I was able to watch Lost kind of back like bam, 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 right?
You
And
were
then
binging.
I got so into it that like I still think there was like one more season to come out or something. So I started buying them, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, oh hell no, I could not have watched that all spaced out with the commercials and then having to wait a whole week to then. So it's a complete different experience for me.
Insane because Lost was the first show I binged, and it was in the middle of a snow and ice storm that we had, and I had ordered like the collection off of Amazon or Overstock or whatever it was,
Uh-huh.
and I was stuck in the house for 3.5 days, and I watched every episode in 3 days.
Wow.
I mean, I was up at all hours of the night. I could not get enough, and just blew through it. And let me correct my statement.
Yeah.
I watched every episode except one.
Okay.
I have not to this day seen the final episode of Lost, nor do I know what happened.
Oh.
So I ended that show in my head the way I wanted it to end.
Okay,
And I just still haven't done it. Have not watched it, and I have absolutely for over a decade avoided a spoiler on how the show ends.
Interesting. That's pretty dope. That is pretty cool. All right, well, so that was fun. We got a lot. I feel like we've already just started scratching the surface of nostalgia here because I think we're going to go pretty deep here when we get back. But right now, I am going to send it over to future Shane and future Troy, who are going to talk about some nostalgic shit that Troy wants to talk about. Apparently, we're going to get a really good story about him doing mushrooms and watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And he really wanted me to get Jason in on this story, but I don't know if the scheduling is going to work out. But we'll go now and hear this story from Troy in the future. Well, thank you, Shane. I appreciate that introduction. As always, this is my favorite part of the podcast when we pull in Mr. Troy Myers and we get to hear what he's got to talk about this month. We're on a nostalgia kick, man. So I threw up Castleton Arts back here for you, bro. I hope you got some nostalgia about Castleton Arts to talk about.
I honestly couldn't tell you one movie that I saw at Castleton Arts, but I do have like a million nostalgic tales.
All right, so this is Troy's halftime talk, brother. Let's talk.
Yeah, man. I guess nostalgia. That's a theme.
Yep.
Yeah, I would argue that all these are kind of about nostalgia, but what makes this month special, I will never know.
I guess that's a good point. I guess I never really thought about that. But so we're focusing on the nostalgia this month where we're specifically trying to bring it up. But you make a good point that a lot of this is definitely nostalgic episodes that we do. So okay. Well played.
Yeah, I mean we aren't talking about new movies here very often. So
not often.
But that's that's fine. Whatever. I'm just being being a clip asshole. Shocker. So I guess my thing is I don't really tie movies into nostalgia very often. I think like music is much more.
I was gonna say we're gonna talk about
nostalgic
TV shows
for
and
me.
music also. So wherever you want
Yeah,
to go with that.
no. But I also kind of want to like delve into why like I feel like that might be. I almost feel like sometimes like cinema history exists in its own timeline in a weird way. And I find that like when I watch movies, like I think of them more in the context of like the history of movies than in my own like personal history, if that
Okay.
makes any sense. Um,
I think so.
and so like it creates this almost like sort of like I don't know, like idea that like most movies are kind of just like hit it and quit it, I guess.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily think of like anything like I don't think of like movies sometimes when I think of like if I'm like, oh, 1994, like what kind of person was I in 1994? Like movies is like the eighth thing that like would qualify like my personality in like sixth grade or eighth grade or whatever
Okay.
the fuck it was. If that makes sense. Like,
It
you know
does,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like I would
Yeah.
be much more like I'm much more of the idea that it's like, oh, eighth grade dog, it's like 10 by Pearl Jam was out. Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
that was the year we got a riding lawnmower for my big ass yard in Noblesville. And like, you know what I mean? Like I remember like dumb shit like that. Like that's what nostalgia is to me more than like movies, I guess. Like, I mean, I know I saw movies in 1994. I know I
Mm-hmm.
saw movies all throughout my life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, but like, yeah, like I don't necessarily know that like movies can do anything other than create like this kind of like old nostalgia. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is like, and sometimes this happens with songs too. Like, this is gonna sound really dumb, but like, do you know the Edie Brickell song, like, what I am is what I am is what I am,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
what
Yep.
you are, or
Yep.
um, every time I hear that song,
Mm-hmm.
it gives me this like weird sense of nostalgia for something that like I wasn't even a part of,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Like, because like to explain it like in a really like kind of like meta way, like that song came out when my older cousin Chris was in college. My
Okay.
older cousin Chris is about 8 years older than me. So, like, kind of like two high school generations ahead of me in life.
Sure.
And so, like, whenever I hear like that song, or if I hear like a song by this like college rock band, the Judy Bats, who were not popular other than like, you know, the small percentage of people who were in college at that time, if
Okay.
I hear something like by those bands, like, I'm immediately taken to this like idea that I have
Mm-hmm.
about like what it would have been like to be in college in like 1989.
Okay.
And so like I find that because of the way we watch movies, like not necessarily always in the time that they're meant to be seen, you
Okay.
know, that like a lot of things can create kind of like a false nostalgia. Like
Oh, okay.
perfect example of this, I bet you know what movie I'm going to talk about,
Yep. Hmm.
because it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't. But like
Weird.
Dazed and Confused.
Yeah. Oh,
I did
wow.
not see I did not see Dazed and Confused in the theater because like I was 12 years old and that
Sure.
was highly inappropriate, I'm sure. Uh, but I did later see Dazed and Confused on video
Mm-hmm.
in like, you know, 1994 or 1995, like when I was in high school, like when, you know, like things were popping off or
Yeah.
whatever. And what that movie did was like, it gave me this like sense as a viewer of like, oh, this is the way high school is supposed to be, bro. Like, am I doing this wrong? And so,
I
like,
like that.
it creates this almost like, you know, this like weird cycle of nostalgia where it's just like, am I doing this to kind of like create nostalgia for myself later in life? Or
Oh,
like,
okay.
do I not have like the creative, like, I'm just doomed to live the cycle of like nostalgia over and over again. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, it's like, did I see Dazed and Confused and relate to it because like I was a I was like kind of like a dumbass prankster who just liked to roll around and do stuff, or did I push all those type of things into overdrive because I saw Dazed and Confused? Like,
Hmm. I like that.
and wanted
And
to be, and like, you know, like had like that personal drive to like want to be part of that sort of like nostalgia.
sure, and you talking about this has me now wondering if like Fast Times at Ridgemont High did the same thing for me, like when I was in high school, because that's definitely one that I always kind of felt nostalgic for. But like obviously I didn't go to high school in the '80s, so
It could be like, you know, like Ferris Bueller has like a place like that
and The
in my
Breakfast
heart.
Club, yeah.
Yeah, like where you're just kind of like, it's almost like this anti-nostalgia in the fact that like it almost makes me think that like somehow like I might have done it wrong. You know, because like
Yeah.
I don't have these vivid like, and that's and obviously that's because like nothing in our lives has been dumbed down enough to be like appropriate for like a 90-minute screenplay. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay.
Like, and so like, you know, like it just kind of makes me think like, like, like the world of John Hughes does not exist in the actual world. There
Sure. Oh,
was no
absolutely.
Shermer, Illinois. There were no kids that were like that. It's just like a fever dream of what you think being a teenager was like.
So, what are your feelings about a movie like, and you might be just a little too young for it, but like Can't Hardly Wait?
Can't Hardly Wait came out, I think the year I graduated high school, like 1998.
It came out
And it
in
was
you
about,
graduated in '98 also? I thought you were a little younger than me. Okay, yeah. So cool. So yeah,
no, no,
it came out in '98.
no, it came out in 98. I remember American Pie came out like the next
The next
year,
summer.
and
Yep.
and it had like the graduating class of 1999.
Yep.
And even though I liked both of those movies, like the thing about like Can't Hardly Wait was like I was like that wasn't my experience at all.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
and so like I don't know that I have ever been to a party that is like as rager as the parties that you see on TV or in
Sure.
movies, you know?
Absolutely true.
And so like, but I feel like I feel like on some level I've always kind of been like aware of that.
Okay.
And so like it's hard for me to like put movies into this category of being able to like draw nostalgia or,
Okay.
you know, kind of like make me feel nostalgic for them or for a time, you know, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, dude. What was the movie that came out like a couple years ago that was just about the three nerds that had the party? And it was basically a 90-minute rager that like the house ended up on fire. You know
Project
what I'm
X.
talking about?
Project
Project
X.
X. Oh my god,
Yes.
I fucking love that movie. I
Watching that
would
movie like roll into insanity was a lot of fun.
I would literally give one of my two pinkies to have had an experience like that in my life. But that's that didn't happen. You know, like
Yes.
I dude, the best I can do is to see them make that movie, you know.
Sure.
But then when you figure that they spent probably what, like $10 million making a movie that was just a party. So you
Party.
basically threw like a $10 million party. Like
Yep.
that sounds cool. I was never going to be privy to that.
Okay. So if movies aren't where you get your nostalgia from, talk to me about where you're nostalgic. What are you nostalgic for?
I could generally like place any time in my life with what songs I was listening to or like
Okay.
what bands I was listening to. I've always used it. I don't know if you've ever heard my diatribe about tattoos and why I don't have one.
Mm-mm.
You've never heard this? Oh, okay. So like I
I
don't
mean,
have any tattoos.
technically, I may have heard it, but I'm going to say no for this so that you can explain it.
That's fine. I don't have any tattoos. That may
Hmm.
surprise people because I seem like the type of guy that probably would.
Sure.
Um, I have a lot of YOLO in me. I just don't have a lot of YOLO in me when it comes to
Putting ink on
throwing
your
needles
body.
onto my body.
Sure.
Um, and so I always thought of it as this like thing, like, and I was like around the time when I was, you know, would have gotten a tattoo like in my early
Yep.
20s or whatever.
Yep.
Like I always took this approach, like, let's think of it like my favorite band.
Hmm.
Like if I was going to get my favorite band's logo tattooed on me. And then I thought about high school and I was like, man, I would have 15 different tattoos right now, and some of these bands I don't fucking like anymore. Or like they ran their course in my life, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good, thank you. Like, like everybody goes through a fucking Led Zeppelin phase. Like, I
Sure.
don't necessarily ever need to hear another Led Zeppelin song again. And so, yeah. So, um, I would feel really, I don't know that I would like myself to have to like either A, carry around a Led Zeppelin tattoo because I was 17 once, or have to like go through the process of covering up said Led Zeppelin tattoo, because I would have done something dumb. I would have gotten like the cover to Houses of the Holy, like on my back. My back would be like that pinkish orange color or some shit. Like, and that would just be a whole set of problems that like I don't want to fucking deal with.
Understandable. Okay. I mean, that
And
makes a lot of sense.
so yeah, I could chart the timeline of my life. I could be like, it's 1994. This is the year that I first heard Blur and Pavement. That changed my high school trajectory immensely. It's
Mm.
like, oh, this is when Bone Thugs and Harmony, E1999 Eternal came out.
Yes.
Oh, holy shit. I have never heard rap music like this before.
1996,
Like,
baby.
and so like those are the things that like more than anything remind me of stuff.
Nice. I like it.
That and drugs.
Sure, makes sense. I mean, on that topic, I was told that I need to ask you about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah,
is there a
yeah.
story? Is there a story that goes with Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Oh man, I wish Jason Mayer was here for this one because he would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Um, there is this like, okay, like I liked the Buffy the Vampire Slayer show.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I love the movie with Christy Swanson.
Sure.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
it's one of my daughter's favorites. She
Oh,
loves
that's
it.
awesome.
We've not
That's a
gotten her
good
into the
movie.
more like we've not gotten her into the more like goth side of the television series yet. We might
Gotcha.
wait a few years about that one.
Gotcha.
But that being said, I enjoyed the series quite a bit when I was younger. I was like just the right target demographic age for that type of
Sure.
shit. I've always tended to like girls more than I like guys, and so shows about girls probably more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Second, and so there was this one episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that the plot revolved around her and her friends like losing their voices.
Yes. Okay. I remember
And
this
so it was
episode.
almost like all silent.
Mm-hmm.
This coincided the day that episode dropped
Mm-hmm.
coincided with the first time that I had ever taken mushrooms in my life.
Oh boy. Oh. Okay.
And wow, dude. Wow. It was unfucking real. Like,
Did you think you'd gone deaf?
no. I
Okay.
mean, no, because like that's too logical of a thought process to have. Like, 'cause, like you would think that. No,
Yeah.
like I'm sure I had thoughts more just kind of like, what if the cosmos has exploded and like I just don't recognize it yet because like the speed of light hasn't gotten to me type shit yet, but it's gotten to the TV show that I'm watching. Like those are more like the fucking thoughts that you'll get like pulled into
That's hilarious.
under the influence of psychedelics. So yeah, that was I still count that as one of like the greatest single episodes of television that I've ever seen.
Okay. That's a good one.
I've never watched it again. I just picked up the next week and just kept it moving.
You have no interest in watching it again?
No.
No. Okay.
Basically for the same reason that like I will never watch the first like season of Lost again.
Okay. Okay.
Because like
It's perfect.
well, the thing is like it's perfect in my mind.
Okay. Oh, okay. I follow you. Yep.
And so like okay, like I don't know how you feel about how like Lost went.
I accept it for what it's not what I wanted, but I accept it for what it is.
we went on that journey somewhat together. Like it lost me around like season 2.5. Like I was just kind of like, this is like just a doom loop and it's going nowhere and I just don't even care.
Yeah.
However, knowing what I know now, like I feel like if I went back and watched the first season of Lost, which like you said, like at the time I was just like, this is perfect. Like this is such an amazing, like I'm constantly thinking about this, like da 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 da. It makes me wonder if like I would watch it with I definitely wouldn't watch it with the same eyes this time around. I'd just kind of be like, I feel like knowing that it goes like kind of like nowhere
Sure. Yeah.
like would make me just kind of like it would lower the stakes in a way that like would make it uninteresting.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so I think I would just rather just keep it the way that I remember it.
So it's interesting.
More
I'm
than
thinking about Lost a lot right now, and like Lost is one that since the show ended, I have not watched other than like little bits of episodes here and there. Like, I mean, I still love like a lot of the Penny and Desmond stuff, so I'll watch some of their episodes randomly when I'm in the mood for it. But like when Lost was on for those 6/7 years, like I was constantly going back and rewatching the show. Like, just I want more Lost. I'm gonna go back and see if I can catch something that I hadn't caught before. And so, like,
yeah, because you were trying to solve a mystery that like
yeah,
has
but
essentially been solved at this point.
yeah. So I think like that's making a lot of sense. But you're saying like I know the end of the mystery now, and I think that's probably why I've like never given the whole show another rewatch since then.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, sure. Um, and that being said, did it make your Mount Rushmore?
it did. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Do you have a Mount Rushmore of television shows you want to talk about?
I do. I mean,
Cool. Let's do it.
okay. I do want to talk about like I'm gonna go in probably like reverse order. I'm probably gonna give you my George Washington first, just because
All
Lost
right.
kind of leads me into it.
Cool. Yep.
And
Let's
so
do it.
like you say that like you haven't gone back to Lost because like the rewatchability is gone in your eyes because like the mystery's been solved.
Yes.
Well, my number one show of all time is a show that I find like infinitely rewatchable. I can
Okay.
watch any episode at any time. I do not have to watch them in order. I do not have to like see anything. And that's Mad Men.
Oh, okay. That is still on my list. I've only ever seen the pilot of it, and not that and Breaking Bad are two shows that I've only ever watched the pilots of. And it's not that I wasn't interested; I just never made more time to watch anything else.
I I've never watched Breaking Bad. I will
Okay.
never watch Breaking Bad.
Okay.
People tell me I will love it.
Uh
Sure.
huh.
I hold against Breaking Bad the fact that like it was kind of on that like Sunday night loop on
Okay.
AMC where it was like, here's a season of Mad Men, and then it would go away and Breaking Bad would be there, and I'm like, nah, dog, this ain't it. And then like the
Okay.
first couple seasons of The Walking Dead, which were also pretty incredible,
Yeah.
like before that show just kind of petered out.
Yeah.
And then that would go, like there was the episode with fucking John Bernthal where Bernthal dies, spoiler alert. And then
Mhm.
and then like 2 seconds later, they're like, next Sunday, Breaking Bad. And I was like, man, fuck you. Fuck you. Don't leave me hanging like that. And so I always kind of blame Breaking Bad for like being this like garbage filler to like these things that I'm like really intensely
That's
enjoyed and was
hilarious.
passionate about. But the thing about Mad Men,
Yeah.
Mad Men's the greatest show in the history of television.
Okay.
Like Mad Men does more to deconstruct what it means to be masculine, what it means, what masculinity means to the history of America,
Okay.
how we got here with like capitalism, how our culture became surface level, how we market things to each other, how like we have created these like fictitious facades and like how you can as a person create your own character that you project out into the world that may
Okay.
or may not have anything to do with the person that you actually are on the inside. um Madman is incredible.
Okay.
I can watch it every time. Um, the episodes always seemed kind of like loosely cobbled together. Like, I mean, they are linear. They do like take place like, you know, like it does take you on a progression from the late 50s to like the like mid to late 70s with Don Draper.
Okay.
But within the whole of the thing, every like unit, every episode seems like its own like self-contained,
Okay.
like almost mini movie in a way. And there's
Very
just
cool.
so much to glean from like every drop of it. Like every detail was executed perfectly. Like so much can be read with just the way that like somebody smokes a cigarette passive aggressively, and it's just like I can go back to it anytime. It's fucking
Right on.
fantastic.
Very cool. I will have to give it a try sometime.
I highly recommend it.
Cool.
Don Draper's a real shitbag, and I just can't take my eyes off. So,
Nice.
I guess we'll go descending order. Number 2,
Yep.
The Gilmore Girls.
Oh, okay. Right on.
The greatest show. Another show that I can just pick up on any episode, anytime. The Gilmore Girls walks that like line of nostalgia for like a place that does not fucking exist,
Okay.
and a time that does not fucking exist, in a world that does not fucking exist. Like, I love the people and the environment of the little town that they live in, Stars
Stars
Hollow,
Hollow.
so much that like if there was a place like that in the world, if I honestly believed that there was a little town like that somewhere in America, I would already live there.
Nice.
And so yeah, I can get lost in the Gilmore Girls anytime.
Nice.
I love them.
So who should Rory have ended up with? Whose team are you on?
I think Rory did all right.
Okay.
I think I was Team Logan.
Oh,
Like,
okay. All right.
yeah, like I honestly didn't think any of these guys were good
Oh,
enough
really?
for Rory.
Oh,
And I
okay.
low key kind of hate what they did making Rory more human when they came back for the like 2-episode Netflix thing, which I just
Sure.
don't even think. I that's a different thing. Like I don't really
Okay.
think about that.
Understandable. I got you.
Another thing that Netflix tried to ruin is
Yep.
my number 3 show of all time, and I
Oh.
only count this as the 2 seasons or whatever that appeared on Fox, and that is
Okay.
the show Arrested Development.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Um,
All right, yeah.
it's
I'm
like
trying to think. I think
it's
4
like
seasons were on Fox, and then the last 2 were on Netflix, and those last 2 were
ask your,
not as great.
ask yourself this, man: where did the lighter fluid come from? Like, I love Joe Bluth. Like, I love like I Need Better Fucking Attorneys. I love fucking. I love the Doctor. I
Mm-hmm.
love Bob Loblaw's Law
Blah
Blog.
blah. Yep.
Dude, I mean, Arrested Development was so funny.
It was.
George, I haven't even talked about George Michael, who, I mean, if you don't think that Michael Cera is the greatest actor of our generation, like something is wrong with you, first of all. And second of all, like you're hiding all the awkwardness that you feel as a human, because like if you don't feel it when you watch like him in Arrested Development,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not even a real human being. Like you're just like repressing trauma if you don't feel like a special kinship with that kid and what a fucked up world he's living in.
Yep. So much fun.
And then my 4th is a little bit of a cheat code.
Okay.
I picked a mini series,
Okay.
also about like what a fucked up world we're living in, only the real side of it.
Okay.
And that's Chernobyl.
Oh, okay.
I
I have not seen anything from Chernobyl. I've heard a lot about it, but I have not seen any of it.
It's either 4 or 5 episodes. I can't remember.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that counts.
Sure, yeah.
I'm counting it.
Yeah, bro, it's all you.
Chernobyl has what I think to be the greatest like single episode of television that I've ever seen. Like,
Oh, really?
there are very few things that like just outside of like the diegesis of the movie can like kind of bring me to like the verge of tears, if not tears. And the episode with Barry Keoghan where he plays like the teenager that's drafted into the Soviet military, to go be part of the cleanup crew for Chernobyl.
Oh,
But the thing is, like, his job in this episode, and I won't say much more than what his job is,
okay.
as far as how the episode goes, but his job is to basically clean up all the domestic animals that were left behind by the people that they shipped
Oh,
out of Chernobyl. And watching this, like, very expressive, very, like, emotionally, like, in touch, basically a child, come to grips with, like, this is just the way that his life has turned out, and that this is what he has to do. And that's like, and kind of knowing that, like, that's kind of the bargain that the Soviet Union placed on, like, almost everybody who came into Chernobyl. Like, it's like
wow.
you're basically, like, giving up, like, who you are as a person, be it physically, emotionally, mentally, a combination of all three. um and you're basically doing that for the cause of, like, trying to cover up this, like, atrocity.
Wow.
um yeah, I it was one of those things that, like, when the episode ended, it was like, oh, we're gonna move on to the next episode, and I did not let that happen. Like, I sat with it. I literally sat there on the couch for like an hour, just kind of
Interesting.
processing how I felt. And then I came back to, the last episode or two episodes or whatever,
Gotcha.
a couple days later. Like, yeah, single-handedly the best episode of television I've ever seen. Like, insofar as, like, we're gonna
Interesting.
hit you with, like, an actual dose of reality.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I've never made the time to watch it. So, and
It
you've
is
that and Mad
fantastic.
Men, you've got kind of got me thinking about trying to start sometime soon.
Doug, I can't recommend either of them more. Like,
Cool.
both fantastic shows.
Right on. Well, as we wrap up Choice Halftime Talk this week, tell me a good story that you got about Castleton Arts. I remember
Uh,
one year's holiday party that you, me, Zach, and some of the other guys ended up playing football in the
Playing
lobby.
football in the lobby. Yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah. I
that
remember
was a lot of
that.
fun.
I remember me and Zach, we used to play baseball with a poster tubes,
Okay.
balls in between. Wild. I think we may have broken some lights, or, like, gotten on the verge of breaking lights, because I mean, we were fucking slamming that. We were trying to hit home runs. Um, I remember, I remember after Castleton Arts closed, um, taking my buddy Jed at the time out there, who worked for, like, an excavating company,
Okay.
and asking him to basically give me a quote on moving the rock,
Oh, wow.
because it was the one thing that I wanted more than anything
That
from
rock is
Castle Arts.
huge.
Is, yeah, if you look over your right shoulder and you go beyond the marquee of the Castle Arts, there was a field to the side of that,
Yep.
and there was just the big rock.
So
Anybody who knows anything about Castle Arts,
while I'm editing this, I'm going to try, because I know for Consternate we took promo photos on that rock. For one of our other short films, we took promo photos on that rock. I will try to hunt those down when I'm editing and see if I can throw up a picture right now of this giant ass rock that was at the side of the building. I hope I can find one of those pictures. All right, keep going.
well, if anybody is trying to build a time machine and wants to go find 20 something Troy, I will tell you exactly where you can find him. You can find him on Friday and Saturday nights after Castle and Arts closed for the next 2 to 3 hours, dipped behind that rock with Amber Beck and a cast of anybody else who wanted to join, basically just smoking weed all night and fucking hanging out. And more than anything else discussed in this episode, that makes me feel nostalgic.
That's awesome, man. Well, brother, as always, thank you for your time. Really fucking appreciate having you around. Always love chatting with you. We got one more episode coming up. And I'm gonna let you decide if you want to be a part of it or not. It's our Shane Talks Christmas episode. So if you want to talk about anything Christmas, you're in, but it is going to be a 100% Christmas themed episode. So if you're like, nah, bro, I'm gonna take the holidays off, I'm gonna leave that up to you. But you got a month to decide that.
I'll think about it.
Okay,
I
that sounds
might hit
good.
the Christmas spirit.
Awesome. So cool, brother. I appreciate your time as always. And let's send this back to the past. We're gonna go talk and let Shane, Jason, and Chris talk about some nostalgic stuff.
Thanks for the trip down memory lane.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Peace.
As always, thank you to Troy for taking some time to spend with me and bringing some insanity to every single episode that we do. So here we are. We are at the feature presentation of Shane Talks episode number 80. And because it's about nostalgia, I got 3 people that I absolutely knew would be able to bring it. 3 guys that I know care emotionally about things in a different way. And I am very happy that all of you guys were available to be here tonight. I want to start with 2 things that I looked up because most people who know me, I am an extremely emotional and sensitive and nostalgic person. I hold on to a lot of things from the past. I would still live in the 90s if I could. Like, I miss that, time period in my life. And a lot of people have chastised me for it in my life and told me that I need to move on and you need to grow up and you need to, live in the moment and live in the now. And there's no reason to dwell on that stuff. So I found 2 things that I want to read real quick. The first one is from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that says, despite its association with negative emotions, nostalgia does not cause or exacerbate unhappiness. Rather, nostalgia is a defense response to unhappiness, one that brings relief from a negative mood. It was found that provoking nostalgia in experiments strengthened people's social bonds, boosted their positive feelings about themselves, and improved their moods. Then, according to Matt Johnson, who has a PhD and the job title of consumer neurologist, according to him, studies have found that people who frequently nostalgize have a greater sense of self-continuity, and that more generally, engaging in nostalgia fosters a stronger sense of meaning in one's life. Looking back helps us make sense of where we've been and where we've gotten to where we are. It helps us to tell a meaningful story of our life, how all of these discrete events and experiences fit together into a coherent narrative. So those are things that people have found that when I was reading about them, resonated with me as to why I feel like I am so obsessed with nostalgia and things from my past. I definitely am a person who needs order and things like that. And I feel like these feelings of nostalgia give that to me and make me happy. So I wanted to start off with asking you guys about some stuff that's nostalgic to you. And the first thing I wanted to start with, let's go back to your childhood. Let's go back to when you were a kid. Let's go back to something, a TV show or a movie or anything from your childhood that you still kind of hold on to and still has an extremely special place in your heart. Chris Schneider, let's start with you.
I'm gonna do both kind of a TV and a movie for different reasons. The background here that you can see, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is that film for me that holds nostalgia. Growing up, I just remember seeing it for the first time and was really just taken in by the magic of it, the wonder of like what kid wouldn't dream of having a chocolate factory or to be taken into that world. And I just absolutely fell in love with that film. And that's why, like, Wonka coming out this holiday season, I think I don't love that it looks overly CGI'd in a lot of parts, but I'm really fascinated in what the story of Willy is. So, I that was just kind of a character in a film that I just fell in love with, and I can continue to watch it and be fulfilled somehow on the inside. So I love it. And then TV show wise, it's weird. The Price is Right for me holds a lot of nostalgia because it is the show that defined a sick day for all of us.
It's
For
exactly what I was going to
everyone.
say. Yep.
Yeah, I could have been as sick can be, but you better believe at 11 a.m.
Yep.
that was on. And to again, it probably started a gambling problem, but whatever. That's a different conversation. That just show that show was everybody's childhood, and I love it.
Am I the only one that coupled The Price is Right with Three's Company like right after it? Like I always feel like Sick Days had Three's Company involved also.
I think there was a whole plethora of shows that were part of that because it's what used to fill the daytime TV, right? So you would
Sure.
have the soap operas, but as far as like reruns, you would have Andy Griffith, you would have
Yep.
I Dream of Jeannie, you would have Gilligan's Island, you would have
Yep.
Three's Company, you would have those sort of shows.
Supermarket Sweep, baby.
Well, Supermarket
Ooh,
Sweep's
yep.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yep.
That was always that and but yeah, Price is Right, and Supermarket Sweep. It always felt like that, and that was always on later, right? That was like 4 o'clock hour or something.
Yeah.
Like
Sounds
that.
right,
So
yeah.
it was one of those
It was
things.
Card Sharks and everything else in the morning, and Joker's Wild,
Joker's
all
Wild.
those shows, Hollywood Squares, whatever.
Oh
And then,
man,
but then
Shadow
it's like, that
Stevens.
was the end of my sick day, right? Was like Supermarket Sweep. It was like, oh man, am I staying home tomorrow, or am I watching and getting to watch another couple episodes of this, or am I going to school and missing this? So,
All right, Mr. Richardson, what about you, good sir? What from your childhood movie or TV or anything just really still resonates with you today? Halloween?
Well, I mean, well, yes, that's a given, but I figure I wouldn't beat that dead horse. I would have to say, I don't. It's okay. This is the honest truth.
Yep.
Maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I was flipping through the TV guide thing, and I was just like, oh shoot, General Hospital's still on. So I'm like, well, let's see who's still on this show. So I stopped it. I'm looking through it. I'm like, oh, and then there was one character, Lindsay, who is still on that show. So she may have come back, or she may have whatever. I don't know, but she was still on that show.
Richardson, we gotta pause for a quick second. We gotta have our Nick Mayer.
he's already gone.
He's already gone. Good night, Nick. Have a good night, brother. All right, keep going, Jason.
No, so General Hospital, I'm just going to name that. I did the ABC soaps, All My Children, One Life to Live, and General Hospital. And it was summer of 1987, or no, 86. And my dad got a new girlfriend. We all ended up moving in together. And so she introduced me to soap operas. And I had never watched them before. So I would go swimming downstairs, in the morning or whatever, right? And I'd come up for lunch. And when I'm eating lunch, I'm watching the soaps with her. And so I started getting sucked into this, right? So I'm only with my dad for a few months out of the summer. And then I'd end up going back home to India. And I'm like, I got to start recording on my VHS. I got to start recording the episodes daily. And you'd set the timer on the VHS and whatnot, right? And then you come home, I get a snack, I go right up and prop right on my bed and start catching up, right? The thing that's funny is those moments, and talk about nostalgia, where like the tape cut off and I didn't get the last 20 minutes of the episode or something, right? And I'd be like, and there was no way you could go back and watch that. No one repeated the episodes. They weren't even out for sale. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, so then I have to wait to the next day and then try to piece what happened. And you know what I mean? But that was just part of the process. And the quality was, even thinking about it, was just so shitty. You know what I mean? And then fast forwarding through the commercials and yeah. So for me, I kind of, that's one close to me there. So I admit it.
Man, soap operas are no joke. Like I remember like summers and stuff like that being in Iowa with my grandma, and like no joke, no matter what movie I was watching in the front room, when her soaps came on, it was whatever it is, you have to stop. For
Yes.
these 2 hours, I'm watching my soap, Days of Our Lives, and whatever the one after that was. I don't remember what the other one was, but like for those 2 hours, like nothing. We wouldn't go anywhere. We wouldn't do
As the
anything.
world turns.
That doesn't sound right, but I can't remember. But like literally for those
Young and the
2 hours, I had to
Restless.
go outside and play, or I had to go, read a book or do something because that TV was for my grandma for those 2 hours. Yeah, Jason.
I was gonna say Phil Donahue was the other one that always was on.
Oh.
And Jerry Springer, right? Like, especially when you were sick, you were just like, Jerry.
Jerry. Jerry.
All right,
I
Mr.
was
Mayor.
going through the channel thing. I was going through the channel thing the other day and didn't realize that the bodyguard of Jerry Springer has his own fucking television show, and it's been on for several years now.
It's
Like
been like
20
30
years.
years. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I just like
He's
this is
got his
like
own
probably
show.
this summer is when I just discovered that. I'm like,
Wow.
what?
Oh yeah, he's had that show for 20 years, I bet.
Oh my gosh!
I believe his show started before Jerry Springer's even finished.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen one person in all these years of Facebook and the crazy shit that people put out there and whatnot. No one share or mention that show.
It started in 2007.
Oh
It's
my
seven-
God.
17
That's
seasons.
17 years ago. Oh
That's season
God!
17.
Oof. Insane.
Mm.
Mr. Mayor, let's go back to your childhood. Does your poster behind you have anything to do with what's nostalgic to you when you were growing up?
Absolutely. 1986.
85? 86, yeah, 86.
I think it was 86.
Yep.
Pretty sure it was.
Weird.
It was weird because I got it on video. I remember watching it multiple times when I lived in Germany, but I would have thought, but then again, I watched it so much, like there was parts of the VHS tapes that were definitely worn out. So yeah, this is the nostalgia movie for me. Like
Nice.
this is that movie that I could quote almost verbatim through the whole thing, beginning to end. And yeah, I love this movie to death. It's so much fun. And it was so different at the time. I remember the first time I watched it, I was traumatized because it killed Optimus Prime and I cried.
Yep.
And here I am, a 5-year-old boy watching robots die on screen and I'm crying about it. But yeah, man, like it's definitely Transformers is my nostalgia movie for me.
And then
And
I
I
believe
took my kids to see it a few years ago.
Yep.
For one of the anniversaries and got to share my love. My brother Mike came with us, but I took my oldest boys and they got to experience it and have fun with it too. So they don't love it nearly as much as I did, but so
very cool. So mine's kind of a movie TV hybrid thing also. Growing up, holidays always were kind of a big thing, and there was nobody really in my family that forced any of this stuff on me, but it always seemed like the Peanuts holiday specials were always on. And so specifically the It's a Great Pumpkin and the Christmas one are the biggest ones, obviously. I watch the Easter and the Thanksgiving and Happy New Year, Charlie Brown. Like I watch all of them, but like the Halloween and the Christmas specials were just they were always on when I was back in Iowa with my family and stuff like that. So again, it was not anything where like any of my family members like demanded we watch it. It was just if they were on ABC that night, they would be on and like I would at least watch them. So which I have a lot of fond memories of being back in Iowa as a kid with that. And then like when I was a kid, a lot of the movie that I would watch on a rainy day if I wasn't outside playing was Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown. So just lots of Peanut stuff. Like I'm pretty sure Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown is like what started my love for Europe and stuff like that before I even lived over there and stuff. And obviously living over there and watching it like kind of just fostered all of those like love for Europe and stuff like that. So definitely the Peanut specials and all the Peanuts that I had in my life growing up. I mean, anybody that knows me to this day, like I'm still pretty fairly obsessed with Charlie Brown and the Peanut stuff. And
what's your dog's name?
My dog's name is Snoopy. Yep.
Yeah.
I had a Snoopy a long time ago, and then when he died, I got a Sparky, which was Charles Schultz's nickname. And then I lost him in the first divorce. So then I got another dog and renamed it Snoopy. So yeah. And then next month's episode, our last episode of this year, is going to be called A Shane Talks Christmas. And we're doing a Peanuts theme for that. So I'm really excited for next month's episode. But yeah, so Peanuts been a big thing in my life. And moving on to the next category I asked you guys to think about is one that all three of you guys are going to have amazing answers, because all three of you gentlemen are musical people. Have I know lots of music from all of you guys. So I want to know songs, album, something musically related that still holds an emotional place for you for whatever reason. And Richardson, let's start with you this time.
I would have to say, probably really enjoy Fleetwood Mac's Rumors album, and it really takes me back to the late 70s, and I would have, been 5, 6 years old, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Kind of during that Halloween period, and my parents, my mom and my first stepdad at the time, always played music in the house. And so weekly they would go to the record store and buy albums. And so Fleetwood Mac Rumors, I can remember that album in its prime back then, and the repeat of that album. And so Rhiannon and Don't Stop, and what is it? Dreams, and I mean the list goes on. That's just an album that is phenomenal, and it totally throws me back to the late 70s.
Awesome. That is a good album. Mr. Schneider, what kind of musical stuff do you got that still tugs on those heartstrings?
I I think I misunderstood the question a little bit, because I thought this was going to be like a song from a film.
Oh,
Some sort of nostalgia. So that's where I'm going to go with this.
cool.
And we
Nice.
talked a few minutes ago about problematic people
Mm-hmm.
and trying to separate things, and that's where I'm at with this. R. Kelly, The World's Greatest, is a song that came out in 2001. It was on the Ali soundtrack.
Oh,
It's a song that takes me back to a very specific point in my life. When I had moved to New York. I was working for Interscope Records. We put out that song and that album, and I remember it because I got the single. I was the first person in the world with the single, and it was my job on a Monday morning to take it to the radio station in New York to world premiere the song. And so I had it on Friday. So for a weekend, I was the only person with that song. And then at 6 a.m. Monday morning, we world premiered it. But 2001, I think for me, is such a great year for music. I love it, but that'll always take me back to a special time in my life when I challenged myself. I moved away. I confronted the fears that I had and was able to be honest with myself.
awesome.
And so that song from that movie just kind of sticks with me, and it's one that I can turn on and sing every note to. So
Nice.
that
That's
and
pretty
pure
good.
imagination always wins also. But
Very cool. Mr. Mayor, what about you, man? What kind of music?
You always go last. Now you're going third. Go.
Okay.
You pick.
All right. I'll go third. I got a couple of things. The first two I'm going to kind of just gloss over, but in 1995 for Christmas, I got my first Sony Discman, which was cool. Except my
Did you
parents
say
didn't buy me
95?
1995. Yeah. Yeah. Got my first
He said
disc.
Discman, not like not the first time he ever got a compact disc, but the
No.
portable.
Yeah. I mean, I got my first portable Discman. I owned no CDs at that point.
Oh wow.
So my parents bought me a Discman.
You know what? Had you asked me, I would have thought that would have been. I wouldn't have thought 1995 in Discman. Wow.
they were like $300.
Wow.
It's a big item.
So yeah,
I would have thought 80s on Discman. You know what I mean? Like late 80s or something. You know what I mean? But I would have never thought 1995. I'm like, wow. Anyways.
still Discmans at that point. But yeah, so my parents bought it for me for Christmas in '95, but no CDs to go with it. So the next day after Christmas, we ended up going to the mall in Iowa, and I bought myself my first 2 CDs that I ever owned. And they will always hold a special place in my heart because the first one was Mariah Carey's Music Box album, because my all-time favorite song "Hero" is on that album, and I just think it's a top-notch album from start to finish. But that was the first CD that I ever bought. Jason, do you think you know the second one?
Bone. Please tell me it was Bone.
It was not Bone.
Oh, it was Tupac.
It was not. You're in the right genre.
Snoop?
What's that?
Was it Snoop?
Dr.
Nope.
Dre.
Nope. You guys are,
1995.
you're all going around it. It was a soundtrack in 1995.
I mean,
Friday.
No. Criminal Minds.
Dangerous Minds.
Dangerous Minds.
Yes, the Dangerous Minds soundtrack. Two totally different spectrums of music, from Mariah Carey to Coolio and the other music that was on the Dangerous Minds. But those were the first 2 CDs I bought. So they always kind of hold a special place for me. I still love both of those albums from top to bottom. So, but the thing that gets me the most when it comes to music was 1998's album by the Goo Goo Dolls, "Dizzy Up the Girl." And on that album, there are 3 songs that were on soundtracks, which obviously, like being the movie person that we all are, like you had Iris from City of Angels, you had Slide from, or I'm sorry, Black Balloon was from Here on Earth, and then I can't remember what Slide was on now, but it was in a movie also.
Playing by Heart.
Thank you. Yes. So yeah, so just 98 when the Goo Goo Dolls dropped "Dizzy Up the Girl," like that's music that always just literally takes me back to that time period. All those movies, like it hits me with them, stuff like that. So yeah, those are the music things that take me back as far as nostalgia goes. The next thing I asked you guys about, what's up, Jason?
Well, I didn't get to answer yet, so you were about to move on.
Well, see, that's what happens when you make me not go last. Why don't you tell?
I know.
Jason,
I got you.
you're going last. Why don't you tell me about some music that still gets you?
Train? What?
I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. All right. Snoopy versus the Red Baron, the Royal Guardian.
Okay.
So that is something, the Royal Guardsman, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That and Puff the Magic Dragon are 2 different songs that like I listened to a ton when I was young. Those are 2, like, and I'm talking like 5, 6 years old when I was listening to those the most. So we definitely so those 2 songs, but Snoopy versus the Red Baron is definitely one of those. As far as albums go for me though, it's really kind of weird. First CD I ever owned, Debbie Gibson, The Electric Youth. It was on clearance. It was on clearance in the
Sure it was.
I'd admit to it no matter what. But the other one that is something that will forever live for me is Vixen. They were a all-girl rock band, and that was another one that was in the late 80s, early 90s. Edge of a Broken Heart was their #1 single off of their first album.
I could never love again now that we're apart.
Thank you, Debbie.
Oh.
But yeah, so
it's only in my dreams.
And that's the reason why we love Robin Sparkles so much. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to the mall.
Debbie Gibson reminds me of Washington Square Mall. That was just like big hair girls in Washington Square Mall. Is like that's Debbie Gibson when I think about it.
Did Debbie Gibson ever come to any malls in Indianapolis?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Since I didn't,
but I never went to go see her. I
wasn't around.
He was more of a Tiffany girl.
Do you remember Avril Lavigne came to a mall here? And I can't remember if it was Castleton or Glendale, but it was up on the north side. And she performed like it was right before she got giant and like it was Skater Boy and all that stuff. It was like right before that.
Right.
So
Isn't she
Looked
married
like
to
I'm
like
on the
Chad
news or like a
Kroeger or something?
documentary. See that? She dated him for a while.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. We done with that, Jason? Did you get to answer successfully?
yep, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Now we're gonna move on to part 3 of what I asked you guys about. We've touched on it a little bit, but TV moments, TV episodes, anything TV related that still sticks out in your mind, sticks with you, takes you back, is nostalgic for you. And I'll go ahead and start this one off, and then hopefully I don't forget anybody. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Do you want a TV moment? Like what you're
Yeah.
it's very vague on how what you're looking for. Because I definitely have a moment that I'm like, wow, that still is in my brain.
Then yes, that's what I want.
Okay.
Mine is a TV moment. We've talked about
Okay.
Lost before. We've talked about how enjoyable Lost was and how I watched Lost on a week-to-week basis. What's
He's
what was
trying to
it?
block it so you don't say the ending.
Oh, I will
No,
not
no,
say the
no, no.
ending.
That's that. I think that's the moment.
Yeah, no, that is a good moment, but that's not what I was. Lost to me was a
so it's
show.
not Penny's boat.
not Penny's boat. It was an amazing moment, 100%. But watching it and having to wait a week, and that week was spent talking to all of my friends. It was the first time I had found a message board where people were on there theorizing what happened. Oh my god, can you believe this ending? Like, do you think it's leading to this? Do you think this is where it's going? Like, and I know Jason hates the fact that nowadays I watch a lot of like theory videos about where Marvel is going or what the Loki TV show is going. Like, I like that concept of theorizing and trying to figure out where the storytelling is going, and that was wild with Lost. There were insane theories with Lost. This is where Lost is going. This is the meaning of Lost. This is what's going on. This is who's in charge of Lost. Like every week, it was like, oh my god, is this what's happening? And then next week, oh no, something even different is going on. We have no idea what's really going on this island. So the last couple of seasons, I had a really close group of friends, and we actually got together every Sunday night to watch the show. Well, my buddy Matt and his wife Lily ended up going over to Europe for a vacation or whatever for like 10 days. They missed the episode before the finale. They flew back into Chicago the morning of the finale. So instead of having to figure out a way to get back to Indianapolis, I drove up to Chicago that morning, picked them up from Chicago, drove them straight to my house, where we got to my house about an hour before the last episode aired, just enough time for me to show them the DVR'd episode that they missed while they were in Europe, and then we went right into the finale. And so that's just always a moment that, like, getting to make sure that they watched the finale live. They were two of my closest friends at the time. We, got to watch the episode before and then the finale together. Like, they didn't, miss it or anything, because they were like, oh, this sucks. We're not going to get to watch the finale live because by the time we get back to Indy and yada yada. And I was like, no, I will make sure that you are back in time for us to watch the last week's episode and the finale together. And so, like, just watching the Lost finale with them and them being able to watch everything just is one of those moments, because Lost at that time just meant so much. From a like, I have to know how things end. I have to have answers to everything. So being able to theorize stuff and try to find out if I was right or wrong is the same reason why I like, crime documentaries and things like that. I like to be able to, and crime novels, I like to be able to try to figure out who done it before I actually get the answer. So Lost was the perfect show for me at that time. Mr. Richardson, what is a TV moment, TV show, anything TV related at all that is still nostalgic for you?
Oh, I would say one that I always looked forward to. So I don't know if anyone ever watched Martin.
Okay, yeah, watched it.
Seen some episodes. In between your friends episodes. So, and again, that goes back to, it's a whole culture thing and whatnot. Because, like with me, I didn't get into Friends. For me, living single was my Friends.
Which I love that
Martin,
one too. Martin and Living Single back to back was like perfect.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so for me, nostalgic wise, and I've even recently kind of gone back and watching some episodes on Max of Martin, And the first time that Shanae popped up was just like, whoa. And it was so over the top, and it just kind of nailed that typical, black girl that you think of that's over the top and mouthy and whatnot and such, and he just nails it. And also the same with Jamie Foxx on In Living Single with Wanda.
Oh yeah.
With the blonde wig, and Tommy Davidson used to always be that character guy that someone's trying to set him up with, and I mean, those are classical, you just Google those and they're out there, man. If I just want to laugh, I'll watch either one of those episodes and just lose it. It was just at its best back then with comedy. So
very nice. Mr. Mayor, let's jump
I think
up to
that's
you.
what In Living Color did that differentiated it from Saturday Night Live was create these just wildly funny characters that push the limit, and it just was new and fresh and different. And then you had the Fly Girls on top of that, that show
right.
just absolutely crossed over, and it was fantastic.
And that's the thing too, is I think yeah, it was, but I think that was kind of the difference of there was an appeal there that you really hadn't seen before. And so I ask this question every once in a while to a friend, and people look at me like, why are you asking that question? There is a difference between when you go to a comedy show and you see a black comedian versus a white. And both of them are excellent in their craft, right? But there is a difference. And there's something about the way that black comedians are able to tell a story, and there's a little drama to it and over the topness too, but you could so relate to what they're telling you about. And that's what you got out of In Living Color, was a little bit more over the top satire.
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, let's jump to your TV nostalgia.
My TV my TV moment comes back to one of my top 4. I remember I jokingly talked about how somewhat, I guess I wasn't joking about it. I cried when Optimus Prime died, right? Because here I was 6 years old and my favorite Transformer just died. Magnum PI dying totally screwed me up when they killed that character. Yeah, they ended up bringing him back the next year and acting like that wasn't a real thing or whatever. But they had every intention of killing him and leaving him dead. That moment, I just remember, like I told you, that was a movie or a show that we all watched as a family together. And so all of a sudden, I'm watching this show and I'm like, Tom Selleck's so cool. Magnum's the man. And then they killed him, and I was like, I would have felt like my son Nick when he saw the last Spider-Verse movie. He dropped some
No, I haven't seen it yet.
He dropped some expletive deleteds at the end with permission. I should say that he asked for permission to drop some expletive deleteds, and I gave him permission, and he did not disappoint with his choice of words. But yeah, it was somewhat traumatizing, man, to watch Magnum die. So that was kind of that's that one weird moment of TV history that's ingrained in my brain, man. So
interesting. All right. And last but not least, Mr. Schneider, as far as TV goes, what do you got?
When they kidnapped Sam on Different Strokes when he was, no, I'm just kidding. Just so random. It just came into my head. For me, it was it was one of my top 4 also. The finale of 6 Feet Under, I think, is the best finale of any TV show that I've ever seen.
I've heard that.
It is one that I can watch on its own, and every single time I'm a puddle of tears because it wraps up a 6-season series so perfectly. It deals with the Fisher family that owns a funeral home. And so the most perfect way that they end the show is by showing the death of each of the characters um, throughout time, and so you get to see how each character has progressed in
Their
age,
death.
and then they show you the death of them all. So you get closure on every single character that you cared about over a 6-year period. And what's extra great, what adds the layer onto that is on the DVD box set. They has, like a little booklet that's included with it.
Yeah.
They have actual obituaries for each of the characters.
Oh,
So you
nice.
really kind of see the completeness of a character. I just think that episode is one that is so perfect for me that's there. Not episodic television wise or anything else. Like if that's like an episode that's nostalgic, but like a TV moment that will always stand out is it's kind of the first time that there was a breaking news story that was out there as a kid that I remember, and it was the Challenger explosion, because that was one where I think in elementary schools and schools and everywhere, like we were watching that intently, and that was broadcast live. And so like, I kind of remember being in the school cafeteria and seeing that, and then since then, I think, we see different moments in history unfold on television. But for me, like that moment on television was something I had never experienced before. So
Yeah, definitely that and 9/11, because like
9/11.
I remember
absolutely.
9/11 turning on the television as and it was an old tube TV, and it was kind of an old one at my parents' house, and like it was warming up, the television screen was, and literally once it finally came into view, you saw the one that was on fire, and then you saw the plane hit the other one. And like, I mean, I'm literally turned it on to watch the second plane hit, and it was just one of those like, the fuck did I just see? Like, totally no way in hell that ever had. Like, I did not just watch that just happen for a second time in the matter of like minutes.
There's not a lot of times in those moments again where something happens and then all of a sudden collectively everyone is watching the same thing. I think it was Challenger. I think it was Princess Diana dying. I think it was September 11th. I think the first inauguration of Obama, everybody was watching that kind of historical moment happen.
COVID
was, I mean, it was something we shared together.
But you kind of but people tuned in for information, like just to. The world is shutting down. I mean, so it's just all over the news. You can't help but to have tuned in at some point to some news to find out what the hell's going on. You know what I mean? With everything shutting down, to the people going, the hospitals getting filled up, like that. So anyways.
As somebody who didn't really watch a lot of news, I will definitely admit that when COVID started, I started watching a lot more news than I ever had in my life to try to.
Well, it's like, how could you not? COVID was so way beyond. I mean, the world. That was a pivotal moment in our life history. Mm-hmm. And no matter what you think about it or whatnot, right? It happened. Something happened, and things stopped. Yeah, we've never seen that in our lifetime. I never thought I'd see. That's some damn Rennie Harlan or whoever directed Day After Tomorrow movie, Independence Day. Some type of movie with that theme. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, it was just like, whoa.
It was another like kind of wild moment that I think, no matter if you were a fan or not, like you tuned in because it was so wild. Sorry, the Pacers brawl when that happened. That was a moment.
I remember.
Oh, you mean
the brawl in the Palace,
when they were all in the stands and everything else.
Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal. Yeah. Another one that I remember from high school, it was probably the first time I remembered seeing a lot of news coverage of something like outside of just watching it at night, was O.J. Simpson stuff. Like, I remember
yeah.
Absolutely.
I forgot about that.
Covered a lot. Yeah.
I had just gotten back from seeing Wolf with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer at College Park Lowe's, and that was happening.
Wow. Yeah. So
Tupac,
like,
Tupac being dead. That was another,
oh,
or getting shot. That was another one that was all over the news for a while there.
yeah.
So, but anyway, so those are we're so cheerful right now. Let's we'll talk about all this great pandemic and horrible situations that happened. Shane,
Nostalgia can be
I have
good
to
and
ask
bad.
you, is there a movie / TV show that has powerful nostalgia to you?
Absolutely. There's absolutely.
Of course there is.
I'm wearing the t-shirt from it. It is the
Back
movie
to
that
the Future.
I have probably seen the most times in my life. Like, no bullshit. 2000 would be an understatement for the amount of times I've seen this movie in my life. Like, as a kid, I watched it day after day after day after day over and over. Like, before the second and third movies came out, like, I was just obsessed with it. I was obsessed with the ending of it, like the idea of it ending with them going to the future. And at 8 years old, not knowing what a sequel was, not knowing that I was going to get more of it, that movie, like, just the whole concept of it was something that I just fell in love with. The nostalgia of going back to the 50s at that, in the 80s, was just something that I don't even understand why. I don't know what made me fall in love with this movie, but it is the movie I know I've watched the most in my entire life. I know exactly what movie theater I was at in Iowa when I saw part two. I know exactly what movie theater I was at in Germany when I saw part three, but I had never seen part one in an actual movie theater until this past Saturday when Mayor and I went and saw it together. Yeah, Back to the Future Day. Over the years, I've gone to other Back to the Future Day events. Tow Yard Brewing downtown one year did an outdoor showing of Back to the Future, so I saw it in their parking lot on the actual Back to the Future Day, October 21st, 2015. Caitlin and I went to the Newfields where they did part one and part two back to back that night. So I got to watch both of them outside. They had a whole bunch of decorations up. Sun King had special pint glasses made that I still have for that day. So, like, Back to the Future over like my entire life. Like, I mean, when I went to Universal Studios in 1993, I literally had my group that I was with leave me at the Back to the Future ride so that I could ride it 6 times in one day. They went off and rode ET. They went off and rode Earthquake. They went off and rode everything else. I said, this is where I will be. I will be riding this ride, getting out of line, and getting right back in line to ride it again. That's all I cared about while I was at Universal. So yeah, the Back to the Future, the first one, and then the franchise as a whole is just one of those movies that my entire life I have never lost my love for it. I can always put it on and watch it. If I'm doing something around the house and just need background music, I'll pick one of them and put it on because I don't need to pay attention to know what's going on, and it hits me. I don't know. I mean, I do know, all the romanticism, all the nostalgia that movie. A lot of my nostalgia is probably very deeply rooted in being exposed to that movie and its nostalgia at such a young age, and I think that definitely formed an impressionable brain of, you know, stuff from the past can be important and relevant to me. So yeah, thanks for making me go first and kind of getting emotional while I talk about that. But let's move on to Mr. Richardson. What is an emotional movie or moment or something? I mean, we're all movie guys, so I feel like this is the best category for all of us. That, I mean, we all met at the same movie. I mean, I met Jason in high school, but we all came together at the movie theater that's behind me. So, Mr. Richardson, movie, you're connecting to audio. Cool. Let's go over to Mr. Schneider while we're waiting on Jason's reconnecting to audio. But Mr. Schneider, do you have a movie moment or
It's
movie?
not a moment, it's just a movie. Yeah, a movie that is nostalgia to me. So back in 2000, 2001, 2002 area, the best job I had in my life. I loved working at the movie theater, no doubt. I love it. But I truly love and kind of became a little bit of an adult managing a warehouse music, a music store.
Okay.
And the not too unsimilar than a movie theater as far as the shenanigans that go on with the staff, because it's a young staff. There's a lot of stories that can be told from what goes on behind the scenes.
So Empire Records was a documentary, right?
For me, and that is, but Jason, that's the movie. That's my answer.
Oh,
It's
nice.
Empire Records.
That movie is so
I
good.
can sit there and watch that movie, and I reflect on the relationships that I had at the music store, the promotions that we had, being sold to a conglomerate, and the drama that goes on, the theft that goes on from Warren and everything else. And like, that movie takes me back to such a memorable, happy time for me. That I just.
By the way, I bumped into Brian Walls last night.
I bumped into him 3 nights ago at English Ivy's. Did you see him at Ivy's?
Uh-huh.
That's where I saw him too. Yeah.
And we talked about you. So yeah.
So I love that. I love that, and I love the fact that we kind of talked earlier about it. Like, it was like a blockbuster. Like, I would love to go back to a blockbuster.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was Sound Warehouse back in the day that you'd go to and get your CD singles, your cassette singles, or whatnot. So I mean, that movie just takes me back to a happier time, and I love it. That was my favorite retail job. So
that's awesome. I highly support that.
And yes, it was damn near a documentary, because a lot of
All right, Mr. Richardson, you ready now that you got audio back?
Yes, you'll have to repeat the question for me, please.
What movie or movie moment or anything movie related, whether it's a scene or a song or a sound or something, what hits you nostalgically when you think about a movie?
Wow.
I mean, you've only had a week to think about it.
Yeah, I know. Oh gosh, I'm just trying to think of.
What about Candyman?
That's a hard one. Say the question again for me, please.
When you get nostalgic about film, is there a film that comes to your mind that just fills you with happiness? Like with Chris, where it brings back his job working at a music store. With me, where it just brings back your childhood fondness. Whatever movie you think about, whether it's a scene or an entire film or movie related. Maybe it's just a movie that came out while you were working at the movie theater, and while you were working at the movie theater, it brings back good memories because you had the greatest employee that you ever had working for you when Shane White was your employee.
I got you.
Okay, so what's the answer?
So I'm gonna have to go with The Shawshank Redemption.
Very nice. And
the reason why that is because at the time and the group of friends I was hanging out with,
you all went to prison together.
What's that?
You guys all went to prison together?
No.
Okay, right.
That's a whole other thing. Okay. No, we would hang out on Friday nights, and sometimes that would include going to a movie, but we'd always go to dinner or go have drinks and go bowling and whatever. But every once in a while, something good came out, we would go and watch it. So we were desperate. One night, it was October of 1994, and I worked the day shift at Clearwater that day, and so. The Shawshank Redemption opened, and Clearwater had it exclusive for like a week or so. And I said, "Hey, what do you think about seeing this Stephen King short story, blah, blah, whatever?" And so the four of us, we went to go see it, and we didn't have high expectations of anything. We really didn't even know just this guy on a poster looked like in the rain looking up at God or something, right? We really didn't have any kind of anchor whatsoever on this movie. And then we go in, we sit down, and as we're watching this movie, we're like, this is a phenomenal movie. If this movie is not seen there's no point in watching movies. And so I've pushed and pushed customers to go see that movie. People come up, what should we see? Because they did that back then.
Yep.
And people would come out and they tap on the window, go, thank you, so good.
Nice.
You know, so that for me was a very important film that just I had no expectation, and then just it's one of my all-time favorites.
All right. Mr. Mayor, you get to go last, sir. Can you tell me about anything movie related that hits you in all the feels?
That's the tough one, right? Like, because you run through all the different things that matter to you, and being big movie buffs like we are, trying to whittle it down and think of that one. It's so cliche, it's so ridiculous. I've mentioned it numerous times on this show, but it's got to be Return of the Jedi and the final fight between Vader and Luke. And just because of the simple fact that that's the first movie I ever remember being on screen that I was present in the theater for. And then on top of that, you take that whole original trilogy just in general and jump them all together, and it's probably A New Hope's the movie I've seen the most out of my life, kind of like you with Back to the Future.
Mhm.
And for sure, probably the one that, you know, definitely the wonderment and everything made me love movies even more than I ever thought I would, probably. So it's not something, you know what the stinky part is about this is the fact that I've shown those movies to my kids and they're all like, oh, those are good. And it's just like, you don't understand.
What is their replacement today?
Oh, no. It's just like our parents, right? Like our parents would be like, "Oh, this is wonderful. You should watch this." Or like you guys mentioned.
Oh, no. I get that. No, but what is their replacement today? I'm curious.
Like
what is their Star Wars replacement?
Oh, dude, like it's crap. It's YouTube crap. That's what it is. It's not.
Okay.
Like, I mean, my daughter right now is in a Descendants phase, which is I don't know if everybody knows this, that it's a Disney original television movies, and it's about like all the villains in all their movies had kids together. So like Jafar had a kid with Maleficent, or no, Hades from Hercules had a kid with Maleficent, and then like Captain Hook had a kid with somebody, and like Cruella de Vil had a kid with somebody, and it's just, and so like it's all these evil bad guys, and I think it's Jafar and
it's like, who comes up with that?
Party did Disney have? It sounds like all these people were at a holiday party, threw their keys in a bowl, and had a time.
yeah, pretty much. It's kind of weird because they all hang out. They're all teenagers around the same age, and like, and it's just, you know, Ursula had a kid with somebody. Like, it's weird. But my daughter loves the entire series. There's 3 of them. They're making a 4th. But like my other kids, they're just like, Nick's on Pirates of the Caribbean kick right now. He loves that first one. He was like, how many movies are there? I was like, 4. And he goes, no, there's 5. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I never watched the 5th one because I disliked 2, 3, and 4 so much. I never bothered to watch the 5th one.
I still can't get through the first one, but I own them all because I got them for $5 each on Blu-ray. It was just a sale, right? Yes. And I'm like, I'm going to watch these one day, right? You know, have access to them and such. And they're still sitting in the plastic, and they bought those years ago. And I want to, but I'm just like, what's the phenomenon about this movie?
There's nothing, Jaybird. The 2nd through 4th one are horrible movies. Like, they're not entertaining. They're kind of like,
and they're trying to reboot it now, and I'm like, stop.
It's like the superhero movies. Seriously, it's a ton of eye candy and no substance. So there's no reason to watch those films, in my opinion, anyway. So, but yeah, I would definitely say it's definitely the Star Wars original trilogy.
Okay.
My main focus on one particular scene from any of it would definitely be the Luke and Vader fight, with their lightsabers underneath the stairs, so like you could only pretty much see like the silhouettes and the lightsabers themselves. That's my moment.
Yeah,
So.
it's pretty dope. Well, you guys did not disappoint, man. That is some great nostalgia that we have talked about. And because we have Mr. Chris Schneider on here for the first time since we've rebooted the show, he has never taken the Hurwitz questionnaire. So, Mr. Schneider, we have 10 questions for you. This started out years ago. I think it was like 2005 or 6 as a blog that Troy Myers had put out, and a bunch of us answered it. And we narrowed it down from the original 19 questions to the following 10 questions that we're going to ask you. And I'm actually really excited for your answers because I feel like of everybody that we've ever had on the show to answer this, you, as somebody who does film festivals like Telluride and whatnot, will probably have the most artsy answers for some of these questions. So I'm very excited to see what your answers are. Mr. Mayor, if you would start off our questionnaire for us.
What is the first film you ever saw or remember seeing?
Wizard of Oz.
Awesome.
Are we going rapid fire with these, or do we need explanations?
No,
Nope. Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. We can rapid fire them if you want to expose or exposition anything.
Quick. The first film that I remember watching was it was The Wizard of Oz, and I just remember watching it at home for the first time. That was just one of those movies that was always on and stuck with me. But I think it was the 50th anniversary in 1989 that I wonder clearly remember.
Do you remember your very first movie in a theater by any chance that you can recall, not necessarily like that your parents took you to?
Problem Child. I went on a date with Christian, some girl named Meredith. Yeah, we went to see Problem Child at the Greenwood Mall.
Well, that's a great nostalgic answer there.
Like 88. So.
All right. Question number 2. What is your favorite film of all time?
It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Very nice.
I would have never guessed that.
It's one that I can just watch over and over and over again.
I don't know you. I don't know you at all. After all these years, I do not know you.
What would you have guessed? What would you have guessed, Jaybird?
Yeah, I want to hang on, but my close second would be Clue. I love
Clue.
Oh,
Clue
nice.
would have.
Clue would have been your guess.
Yeah.
Clue is a great film. Mr. Mayor, question 3.
What is your favorite line of dialogue, line in a movie ever?
I don't know. It's gonna play into the moment, I guess. Let's do this. Let's ask me the next question first, and then I'm gonna bump right back to my favorite line.
Awesome. Question number 4. What film made you realize that film is an art?
It was The Usual Suspects, and it was the storytelling in that film was so unique, so clever. And then the end, when you see the reveal and that foot straighten up, that to me, that was like storytelling at its finest. And that's when I fell in love with like film was that moment. So my favorite line then, because it matches up with that, is got to be the greatest trick that ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
That's good.
Because that was just a mind-blowing moment in my early love of film was in The Usual Suspects.
Those are absolutely great answers to that. Question number 5.
What movie do you consider your guilty pleasure? I always joke because Jaybirds, I always make it Baps just because it's funny to me how much he loves that movie.
No,
but what's your guilty pleasure, though?
Again, it's a culture thing.
If Jason and I were answering together, Norbit would be an answer for he and I.
Oh.
Even though like we haven't really watched it together, but we should.
That movie, okay, when that movie first came out, right? Chris and I saw that, and we're like, I mean, there was funny parts, but it was bad. I mean, it's a bad movie. But over time, though, when you rewatch that movie is fucking hilarious. It is. There are moments of genius comedy in that movie, and Eddie Murphy is just brilliant in it.
He is
and it's hilarious.
No,
How
I'll
you
never
do
watch
it?
again.
let's do a gummy and watch it soon. But the actual answer to the question is Rat Race.
Oh, that is bad too.
Rat
There's
Race
only
is
one scene in
absolutely
that movie that I like, and that's the one where they're betting on the people hanging on the curtains. I think that scene is hilarious. The rest of that movie I absolutely hate.
It's a race.
He's nice. It's
Oh.
absolutely my go-to on a short, like if I fly and connect a lot, like and I have to watch a movie that's an hour and a half at the most, I will watch Rat Race on an airplane any day.
Oh man. Oh, yeah. I give you
That's a
props.
good one.
That's one of the best answers we've ever had for a guilty pleasure. Question number 6. Who is your favorite actor or actress of all time?
I had a lot of trouble with this.
I
And
believe
so
that.
I went downstairs to my basement and I started looking at movies in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that Michael Keaton is a fantastic friggin' actor. And there are so many films from him that created not only iconic characters, but just performances that I don't feel like he's rightfully been recognized for. I mean, we know him from Beetlejuice, we know him in Batman, we know him, in Mr. Mom, but the Birdman characters, but Spotlight and his resurgence as of late. I just think Michael Keaton is truly one of the finer actors that we've had, but somehow gets overlooked.
I always loved him in Multiplicity.
He-
Dumb movie, absolutely dumb movie, but I loved him in it.
Fantastic. Hi, Steve. Multiplicity is absolutely an underrated classic.
Yeah. Question number 7.
Who is your favorite director of all time?
I would probably go with Hitchcock.
Okay.
I think what he did in early film and early suspense and horror is engaging, and it still is when you watch the films and holding up over time. I went this past Monday and watched The Birds on the big screen, and it had been 20 years since I've seen it, but man, it still got me in parts. I think he's just one of the all-time greats and so influential to so many people.
Absolutely. Who is your favorite movie character of all time?
I didn't prep for this question.
What was my answer to that question?
I mean, we've only had you answer it twice, and I only cut them together. I don't remember. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'll look it up for you. Research.
Who did?
I guess I will go with Willy Wonka. The actual character of Willy Wonka would have to be that person. Again, the person who creates and who gives and who is the keeper of dreams for kids. Like, just that character I just love. And always did.
So while we've got a little bit of time here to sidetrack and tangent off, how did you feel about the Johnny Depp version of the character? Okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
No,
Exactly.
That is.
Okay,
Don't
cool.
know what that is.
Awesome. I definitely like that answer. Mr. Mayor, question number 9 in the middle of your research.
Number 9. What is your favorite movie snack food?
Twizzlers.
Twizzlers? Oh, very nice.
Twizzlers or Red Vines. I'm more partial to Red Vines
Fuck yeah.
Red Vines watching a movie in a movie theater,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm like buying a licorice as a snack like in the store, it'll be Twizzlers. The Red Vines at the theater, because you can use them as straws.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Red Vines are far superior. All right, question number 10. Alfred Hitchcock is directing the Chris Schneider story. He's making the Chris Schneider movie. Who does he cast as Chris Schneider?
I don't know who he casts. I think that it would be an unknown. I think it would be somebody who is trying to find their way in a career, in a profession, and is given an opportunity and given a chance, and they run with it. Because that's the story of my life, right? It's somebody gave me a chance years ago, and it snowballed into being where I'm at today. And so I think if you cast somebody in my life story, it's got to be somebody who just needs to be given a chance and succeeds with it.
That's a wonderful answer, and I appreciate that answer. But the studio exec who's executive producing this movie for Alfred Hitchcock says no, this $200 million movie has to have a $20 million leading star as Chris Schneider. I will not let you cast an unknown. I am making you cast a famous person. Who would he cast when the studio exec is evil and forces him to cast a not unknown? Who would he cast?
John David Washington.
Who? Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go really unconventional here.
Let's do it.
And we're gonna break norms, because my story can be a colorblind story. And I think I would cast Kenan Thompson, who would be able to come in and be able to play the role, play the parts, and have different characters and different emotions. I think that'd be an interesting casting.
I like that a lot. I personally, if I was casting the movie, would have picked Josh Gad to play you, because for some reason I always see you when I see him do anything, and I don't know why I have that connection between you two, but I see it and I don't know why it's there.
Because we're fat white guys.
Maybe it's
which is why I stayed away from a Seth Rogen, a Jonah Hill, a Josh Gad. I didn't want to do that.
Gotcha. So
I went with the fat black guy.
I have a secret thing for Seth Rogen.
Not so secret if you're telling people about it.
We have a companion question to this. You need a best friend in this movie. Who gets cast as Jason Richardson?
Oh man.
John David Washington.
Denzel.
The answer is always John David Washington.
Denzel.
In a dual role, he's playing both Chris and Jason in the movie.
Man. Ice Cube.
Oh, okay. I like that. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Kenan Thompson and
you
Ice
could
Cube
do it. Put your back into it.
All about this. To see the two of them directed by Alfred Hitchcock, I mean, that's gold right there. Jason, what was Mr. Richardson's answer to his favorite character?
Research has been concluded, and Jaybird went super original with his answers. His favorite movie characters the first time was the doctor from Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Donald Pleasant.
And the second time it was Michael Myers.
What was the question? What was the question again now?
Your favorite
Who's your favorite
character?
Character.
Oh, okay. So Dr. Loomis, because he's so convincing and creepy as fuck.
The second time was Halloween. Was Michael Myers.
The second time is Michael Myers is your favorite character.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Somebody has a fashion.
Well, thank you for that, because I totally didn't even. I'm like, what did I say? So, anyway, so that was cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I would have thought you would have said Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams, or
he did say that was
or Andy Dufresne.
He said his favorite actor the first time was Kevin Costner. The second time he said it was Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Things change.
Absolutely. And I'm sure next year you're going to tell me you want to do it again, and we'll let you do it for a third time, and then I'll cut it together with all three answers. What is going on with Jason? Why are you color changing? That was interesting.
Hey Shane, can you scoot to the left or the right there? I want to see what other movies are playing on
Absolutely.
the
Okay, well,
there
let
in
me go this way
Clearwater.
first so that it's
This is
terminal velocity.
Natural Born Killers. It Could Happen to You. Nicolas Cage is good.
Yeah.
Only one part of Karina apparently. With
Terminal
Neil
velocity
Patrick
is
Harris and Whoopi
terminal
Goldberg.
velocity is
I
one of
had
my go-to
just started.
places.
I had just started at Clearwater there. I had just started at Clearwater.
Then you got Clear and Present Danger.
Which
Quiz
I
Show is
saw,
a fantastic
and
film.
I saw both of those movies there. I saw the River
Oh,
Wild
Taco
there.
Bell and Pizza. I've seen that several times. The Mask, River Wild. River Wild I saw at Norgate in a double feature with Time Cop. I remember taking my
Oh.
parents. And Hilary Swank's Next Karate Kid. Okay,
Yeah.
fun little
Yep.
slate of movies.
Yeah.
Shane, for
Yes.
your fun nostalgia flip back,
Yeah, let's do it.
Back to the Future Part 2,
Mhm.
saw it at Castleton on the
Ooh.
outside of the mall, which became Castleton Arts. And I saw Part 3 at Glendale 456, which was across the street from the mall.
Oh, very nice. Yep. Back in the day when Glendale 456 was a thing, I lived down the street by John Strange Elementary, so that was the movie theater that I would go to a lot.
Went to that one a lot? I would have thought 123 would have been your thing.
456 was outside the mall, right?
Well, no, 456 was across Keystone.
Oh, okay. No, I apologize.
It's
I'm
where
sorry.
the LA Fitness is. That's now
Oh.
about to go down.
Okay, I got that wrong. Then. So it was 123. It was the one that was on the east side of
Same side as the mall.
Yeah, same side as the mall. Yeah,
Where
that's-
Glendale is now was 123.
I thought they were where Lowe's was.
It's where Lowe's was.
No, it is, but I'm just saying it's on that same side there.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
on that
yeah.
same side.
It faced the same way and everything, but yeah, it was closer.
Well, that medical building that's off of Kessler there when you turn down Rural,
Yeah,
that's where the Glendale Theater old one used to be.
Okay, I got you. Right on. Yeah, I don't think I went to that one as much, but yeah, because that one was on that side of Keystone, I just would ride my bike over to that one. The only movie I know for a fact that I remember seeing there was Home Alone 2. I remember seeing there, but I know I went and saw other stuff there. I just can't remember it.
Die Hard 2 on the midnight before it opened.
Nice.
I saw it there. Batman Returns, I saw it 123. I saw oh my gosh, I saw
I got all you bitches. I saw Stir Crazy with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder at Glendale 123 in cinema number 3. Sold out show, standing in a line with popcorn with my folks at the time.
Here's Michael Myers.
That just goes to just show where Michael Myers was cinema 2 at Glendale 123.
Curse of Michael Myers was in cinema 3 at Glendale when it came out. And I remember it was in that big house. It was like a 500-seater or something. And
which one, number 4 or 5?
No. 1, 2, 3. Because it was
I'm talking about which Halloween movie?
Oh, 6. Wasn't that 6? Was Curse of Michael Myers?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that god awful one that they kill the girl off
awesome.
at the beginning.
At the beginning.
Oh.
It's so bad it's good.
It connects back to 3, and how when could you have ever done that in that franchise to connect back to 3?
Oh man, yeah. I just remember we were in that big 500 honker, and we were me, my brothers all went to go see it. We were 3
Was it packed?
Of 8 people in that auditorium.
Wow.
It was so
we were in a packed house at we saw that opening night. That was me and part of that group. I said my friends on Friday night, and we went to what's the one up in Carmel, Village Park 12 at the time.
Oh wow. So I mean, this has just kind of kicked up more nostalgia for me. Do you guys have midnight movies that you remember going to?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Judge Dredd.
Oh, okay, all right. Schneider, what midnight movie sticks out for you?
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the midnight watching the second Jurassic Park,
Okay.
Lost World. But no, the most I was gonna ask this when we were done recording this, but
Yeah,
we'll go
bring
into
it. Let's do
like
it.
our most nostalgic moment of working at Clearwater Crossing. And so
Okay.
for that in the midnight world, it's when we did the 24 hours of episode 1 of
Ooh,
Star Wars.
yeah.
it was just so unique because nobody had really done 24 hours of a film like that before.
Yep.
And it was
Every hour
not
on the
like,
hour.
not like today when, a new episode will come out and it does big business, but we were selling out 2 a.m., 3 a.m. People were there at 6 a.m. because they had waited 25 years for the next episode to come out in this thing. And it was just one of those moments that I'll never forget. I was dead tired, but had so much fun working that night.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Just think of so we're in a new decade. We're in a, what do you call it? The 2020 decade?
Yeah, that's what I call it.
So we're like 3 decades later. So we're in the 2020 decade. We've already had the 2010 decade, and we had the 2000 decade, and it's just like, fuck, how in the hell was Phantom Menace like in the 90s, even though it was 99? How was that from the 90s? Like, yeah.
Yeah, we're old, man. All right, Jason Richardson,
Sure.
what's your Clearwater Crossing moment that you remember?
I would say for me, one of my favorite moments was I was out in the box office. I was a cashier at Clearwater, and I just remember getting on the thing. I'm like, we only got a few more seats left. We need to add another auditorium. Here, I'm just some employees like, we need to get another auditorium. And basically call the manager in. What are we canceling? Because we got a whole line of people down here and we need to get in. And that then led to my boss at the time bringing me on to start doing the schedule of the theater. So I started scheduling film in 95. It was Crimson Tide had just opened. And so my boss was like, okay, you're going to start doing this weekly. Fill the seats up, make us money. And I was like, okay.
Nice.
So that was kind of like the start of getting into that, and then getting into my bookings and working with the home office people and such. And then I remember there was a point where I left Clearwater and I went to Greenwood. And then when I was at Greenwood for a couple of years, they sent me back to Clearwater.
Kicking and screaming.
And I was pissed. I was just like, I was pissed. So anyways, I go back to Clearwater, and Valerie's like, hey, I want you to take over the scheduling again. I was just like, no problem, blah, blah, blah. And Clearwater's business had started dropping because Galaxy had come in and whatnot and such, right? So I just remember I got a hold of my first schedule, and I just kind of evaluated, and I looked at some previous schedules they did. I came up with a different thing. I'm like, we don't need 4 shows. We can go down to 3, a 2, 5, 8 o'clock. And I just remember coming in to grab something at work one night or whatever, right? And Dave Mayer comes up to me and he's like, dude, man, I told Valerie, this is going to be great. He's like, we sold out a movie theater. I'm like, what? Because we took a 7 and a 10 o'clock out and just did like an 8 in the middle. And they ended up selling out like a cinema 3 or 6, one of those, you know what I mean? And so that was a compliment to me, and I will never forget that moment. So
very cool.
And
Mr.
then I went back
Mayor,
to Greenwood.
Mr. Mayor, do you have anything from Clearwater, or are you going to branch out to Castleton?
You know what? As far as Clearwater goes, I would say like my favorite time frame working there was definitely when I got to go and manage once my brother left that theater and they put me there. From a managerial standpoint, heck, I think I convinced Schneider to come back and work for me as a projectionist so that I got Tony Lenter to come back for me as a projectionist because I was just like, I need people that can run booth. Because they were phasing more and more out of getting rid of Bruce and the other guys that were running the booth more and more, and us managers. And so it was like, I was pulling at the old people and going, hey man, just work any shifts you can give me. I don't care what it is, just give me anything. So that was probably my favorite, was getting to manage that time frame. That's also where we made some really good friends of ours over time. But as far as like a favorite like moment while being there was I was managing, but I had the night off, and our friend Manuel went with me, and we were in a sneak preview, a radio screening of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this one guy would not shut the fuck up, like the entire movie, like the entire time, like. And we kept going, shut up, quiet, everything. Manuel turned around and like, I mean, guys, this guy was right behind us. Manuel turned around and was like giving him the stink eye and everything. And then I find like, and then after the movie, he started talking smack, and I was like, you know what? Just get out of the building. And he was like, you're nobody. I was like, no. Like, let's get you out. And then I'll never forget it. The one of the exit doors got propped open, and he like came back in with his buddies acting like they were going to do something. And we had two employees, Justin Rochelle, it was my crazy man.
Remember that one?
Jennifer Reynolds was behind the stand with him, but then we also had this guy named Jay Burnett. I don't know if anybody remembers Jay, but he Betty always called him Miss Betty always called him her nephew. It wasn't really, but whatever. And but yeah, he was always our usher, and like you saw him, and he was like, and it was like there was like 4 or 5 guys who came in looking at me like I was crazy. And it was just that moment of like, I've got Justin and I've got Jay. I've got no problems here, because I know that no matter what, if something goes wrong, right, you're going to get in a whole lot of pain really quick between the 3 of us. I don't care how many there were of you. So that was that moment of like, that's pretty damn cool. Like the like my time off, and I was just talking to Jennifer when they came back in and started jawing. And she was like, I can't believe you're starting stuff. And I was like, they were being rude and ridiculous, and I just made sure they got out of the building. And then she was like, I don't want to have to call the cops. Which will bring me actually to the funniest one. Was my favorite moment of all time was the police officer who decided to break into the building and act like he was just protecting our interests by breaking through the box office door to try to get to the sweat box. Yeah, all caught on film. Deputy sheriff like walked in, one of the doors on the exit didn't get closed on a night where Valerie was working, and he just walked right in. And I love you, Valerie, but you forgot this one. And or maybe it wasn't Valerie who was working that night. No, because she got the phone call. But yeah, like freaking yeah, police officer walked in, walked around, didn't see anything wrong, and then goes into the manager station, picked up a screwdriver, went over, stuck it inside the door to the box office, and popped the whole door off. But that door had an alarm sensor on it. And then the cop showed up, and he showed up second to act like he wasn't there already. Yeah. Somebody else pulled up, and he had gone out and like drove his car around somewhere else in the plaza or whatever, waited for that first car to show up. Then he showed up and acted like it was his first time ever there. And it's like, dude, like, how are you so stupid? So stupid that you're not even like, you're a cop, man. How did you not even pay attention to the fact that like there are cameras everywhere in that building? It's also the reason why we got Dave fired. If you remember, Dave.
Dave, we won't say his last name, but
I almost did.
I remember that.
So close.
Rhymes with
Mark. Do you remember it? I remember watching the video of him stealing all the episode 1 stuff, man. Like literally, like my brother was like, "You need to see this," and like hit play on it, and you see him walk in, and he climbs on top of that trash can, and he pulled down the banner, and then it was just one of those moments where you're like, well, oh. Anyways. But
his roommate was an employee there at the time as well, right?
Yeah, they were both managing at the time.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And yeah, and you know what? Whatever. Like, hopefully that guy got his stuff together and he's okay now.
I mean, at least I stole posters that weren't actively hanging up in the building and breaking in for them.
Oh, we could talk about nostalgia on Clearwater forever, though, man.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. Well, I am so happy to have had you guys on tonight. I loved all of our tangents we went on. I loved everything that we talked about. It was great catching up with you guys. Schneider, always a blast to have you on. Jaybird, you're around all the time, so we appreciate you stepping up every time we need somebody. But thank you both for being available tonight, because I really am happy that we got to do all this with you guys and chat with you guys about Clearwater and just, nostalgia in general. So it was good catching up with everybody.
It will always be a fond set of memories to me, is working in that building, and there's not a time that I don't drive through 82nd Street and Dean Road and don't think back to something that took place in that building.
Sure. Man, and
Oh,
that was
yeah.
just, it was such an
totally.
amazing area at that time, because we had Blockbuster Music in the strip mall in front of us. We had us, and then we had Block Party right next door. Like, all the entertainment things we needed were just all in that area.
Right, we're all within there.
Yeah.
The
So,
Barnes
man.
and Noble was there, and
Yep.
everything else was right there.
Applebee's was right there if we wanted something to eat. Like, yeah.
No, we traded out with Chili's. What are you talking about?
Oh, good point. Good point.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. So much that we got people fired from there and Applebee's because we traded too much with them.
Oh man, well, thank you so much, everybody. It was a blast catching up with everything tonight. Next month, as I previously said, is a Shane Talks Christmas. We're doing a lot of Christmas stuff. It will only be Mr. Mayor and I. We're just going to kind of take over the show, talk about some, go back over some stuff from this year, chat about some stuff, put together a new Christmas playlist mix together. So it will be a very Christmas themed episode. I know Jason is so excited about that, but we're going to have a good time and we're going to have fun. And I will watch that in a minute. All right. So thank you guys, everyone, for listening. And, we went on some tangents tonight, but we had a good time.